Yes.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to the Wareham Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. We have all members present. Ron, Michael, Carol, Denise, Lisa, Kwame, Aunt Sandy, and Agent Dave Pichette. The first hearing, please.
Notice of public hearing. Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. The public hearing will be held on Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. on the request for determination of applicability for Nathaniel Hurd, P.O. Box 214, Wareham, Mass. To construct a deck located on Assessor's Map 27, Lot 1005E, 23, Elizabeth Lane, Wareham, Massachusetts. And I
Thank
will
you.
excuse myself.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So Alyssa has left the
Forgot to
room.
do
So
something today.
is there anybody here representing this project?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to unmute myself. That would be me, Nathaniel Hurd.
Good.
Okay, Mr. Pichette will read to the project and then you can have your comments.
Okay.
Okay, so this project site is at 23 Elizabeth Lane, and the project involves the construction of a deck in a coastal flood zone at this existing home. A 14 by 32 foot deck is proposed, and this would be supported on sonotube footings. And the house is elevated on stilts, so the deck would be elevated as well.
We're down here.
There really are no other proposed changes to the site in terms of grading or anything. So I would recommend the approval of this project with a negative determination number 2.
Thank you. Just, can you read the dimensions again? I thought they were changed.
I had 14 by 32 on the detail plan.
Okay, thank you. It's different from what we first got our plan last week, but okay. Nate, anything to add?
Nope. Sorry. I don't, you voted negative on number 2, I believe. I don't know what that meant.
It means a good thing.
Okay, good. Then I have no comments.
So any questions from the board, I will ask. Ron,
No questions.
Michael,
No questions.
Carol,
No questions.
Denise.
The stakes that I saw when I was on the property, do they reflect the ASAP engineering?
Yes, they do.
Thank you.
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Sandy, I have no questions. Is there anybody on the line that would like to comment on this project? Hearing none,
I move to close the hearing.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second, close the hearing. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Mike, Carol,
Aye.
Denise, Kwame, Sandy.
Yes.
Yes, hearing is closed.
I make a motion to approve the project, the negative determination 2.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second, all in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Michael, Carol, Denise,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy.
Yes.
Yes. So it is approved. Nate, don't do anything until you get the paperwork from Mr. Pichette, okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you
You're
all.
all set. Yep.
Have a nice evening.
Can someone, if someone's in the house with Alyssa, let her know she can come back. Stan, are you listening?
She's there.
Back.
Okay. Let the record indicate that Alyssa has returned to the meeting. Next one, please.
Okay. Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 at 6:30 PM on the notice of intent for Stephen King, care of Environmental Consulting and Restorations LLC, PO Box 4012, Plymouth, Mass. 02361, to construct a dock located on Assessors Map 129A-1, Lot 99, 27 Agawam Lakeshore Drive, Wareham, Mass.
Is there anybody here representing this project? Please identify yourself.
Yes, good evening, Commission. This is Cameron Larson with Environmental Consulting and Restoration, representing the applicant tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Bichette will read to the project.
The project site is at 27 Agawam Lakeshore Drive, and the project involves the construction of a dock within land under a water body and within bordering vegetated wetland. A 4 by 28-foot portable aluminum dock is proposed at this location in Agawam Mill Pond. The proposed dock would be in 2 sections and would be on wheels so that it could be rolled into and out of the water seasonally.
Or do you sit over there? Is that where you sit?
The dock
No,
would be installed and removed by hand.
Excuse me, Ms. Bichette,
Okay.
please mute yourself. We don't want to hear your conversations. Thank you, and be courteous with us. Thank you. Mr. Bichette, please continue.
Okay, hold on one second. I'm just admitting some extra people into the meeting here. So again, the project is for a seasonal dock. There has been also some other work done at the site, which involves cutting of some wetland vegetation along the edge of the pond and the installation of a block walkway and a block fire pit in the buffer zone to the pond. The walkway and the fire pit may be within the 30-foot no activity zone. We did get a DEP file number for this project. I would recommend at this time a continuance for a revised plan, which should be an engineered plan, which accurately represents and shows the wetland boundary in relation to the features at the site, so that we can determine what level of restoration needs to take place in terms of the wetland alteration.
Okay. Cameron, anything to add?
No, we did provide with the filing a GPS aerial overlay plan that ECR had prepared. They may have that. Do you have that? Yeah, there it is. So that was another view of the site that we had prepared for the commission that shows the bank to Mill Pond, the BVW flags, and then the buffer zones off those flags. You're seeing there the 30-foot buffer and the 100-foot buffer shown in dashed green lines. Excuse me. So we had provided that, to show where the dock location will be in relationship to the resource areas on the site, as well as those other landscape features that have been constructed on the site. We noted the fire pit, the stairway, and that shed, all outside the 35-foot, all within the maintained landscape lawn area of the backyard there. So as Dave mentioned, we're looking for the commission to approve the placement of that prefabricated dock, and then also include those other landscape features that were have been installed on the site. So I do understand that Dave reached out to Brad Holmes from our office and maybe coordinating a site visit to take a closer look at the vegetation removal, kind of come up with some kind of plan for
Excuse me,
revegetation.
Cameron, I
Yes,
have to stop you. Somebody, please mute yourself if you're not talking to this project. You are disturbing the meeting. Whoever's at 508-317-403, please mute yourself. Thank you. I'm sorry, Cameron.
no problem. So all I was saying at that point was that we'd be happy to arrange a site meeting to get out on site with Mr. Pichette and take a look at that area of concern regarding the vegetation cutting and come up with some kind of restoration plan in regards to that. But other than that, I'd be happy to, entertain any questions, but certainly understand that, I think the best thing tonight would be to just kind of get any questions out of the way at this point and set up a continuance and site visit so we can, keep moving forward on this one.
Thank you. Dave, have we been to this site recently? Or was it the house next door to it?
We've had projects in this neighborhood, so it could have been one next door. There was a project maybe a couple of years ago to do a septic upgrade at this particular site. So we've been to these areas previously.
Was this the one that had boats left on the shoreline by the previous owner? Is that this site?
No, that was the next house over.
Oh, next one, okay. So you're concerned that there's been cutting of vegetation down along the pond,
Right.
and you just want to confirm that the GIS shows the correct 30-foot no activity zone for the fire pit and walkway?
Right. So obviously that's not a surveyed plan, so it may or may not accurately reflect the distances that we would want to see.
Oh, okay. Now,
Just a note to that, the GPS equipment we do use is, it's quite sophisticated. We can get down to, in that sub-meter range for the wetland flagging and all the other stuff shown on the site. But, we can take a closer look at that on site for sure.
okay. Questions on the board? Ron? Michael?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Ron, go ahead.
No, I'd like to see an engineered plan too. I want to understand the lines of delineation as far as the 30-foot, 100-foot, just to kind of make sure that the other things that Dave mentioned are not within that 30-foot no activity zone.
Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, from my understanding, this is gonna be a seasonal dock, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and just a quick follow-up question. Where would that seasonal dock be stored? Would that be stored on the property somewhere or somewhere else?
I suspect likely on the property somewhere. We haven't identified an area, but we can, certainly find a suitable area in the upland, outside the vegetated wetland. Oh, it looks like he is showing it. So those are the Chapter 91 plans that the applicants prepared. So they're showing it, up along, I guess, to the rear, a couple trees between that shed that's on site.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Thank you. Carol?
No questions at this time.
Denise?
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes.
You mentioned a chapter 91 is involved with this doc?
Yes.
There's a chapter 91 involved. I was also looking for a continuance because I wanted to see the existing landscape features that they're talking about, and I couldn't get out there because of the snow. We couldn't get through the snow.
I do have some photographs if the commission would like me to pull those up. If I have the ability to share my screen, I'm happy to show those. Let me just-
Okay, go for it.
Okay.
Okay. Walkway. Very nice walkway. Fire pits right between it and the water. See? I got there before the snow fell.
Here's kind of an image, if you can see that, looking, landward from the BVW, up towards that fire pit. The walkway would be off to the right here a little bit. I could probably grab a photo of that too. Let's see, sorry. And this is that walkway area. So, it's all within the limits of the lawn here. That's all just managed landscape. That would be what you're seeing.
Okay.
Okay. Elisa?
I'm on the same page as Denise. I only went there and it was all covered with snow. I could see nothing. So I would like to see it. It was supposed to warm up this week, so it might work out just fine.
Okay. Kwame?
I'm same with Elisa and Denise. I would like to actually see the actual property just to confirm.
Now, Cameron, can you put stakes in the ground as to where this pier is going to go. I figured it's probably where the chair is, but there was no indication that that was the site. So you could put a couple, port and starboard, this is where this is going to go in.
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. If we're, if the plans to arrange a site visit, we can certainly have that, staked out prior to the site visit.
Okay. Yeah, you'll be arranging it with Mr. Bichette. The other members will come when they can.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody in the audience wants to speak to this project?
Yes,
And please identify yourself.
I'm Stephen King.
Oh, King. Mr. King. Yes, what can we do for you?
I just wanted to interject there on that last point of the staking out of where everything is going to be. I did put stakes there already, so it is already staked out.
Okay,
And
it may not,
I would be very happy to be there with you when you come to look, take a look, and I will answer any questions you have while we're there.
when I was there, there was a orange stake and then there was the chair, but I might have been there before you put the stakes out. Okay, so we will have it continued until Mr. Bichette has an on-site visit and members get to go out there after the snow melts. So we'll continue it until we'll be able to have this done by, what's the next date? March?
March 2nd.
March 2nd. Is that a good doable date?
Yeah, we can definitely arrange something to get on site before March 2nd. We'll
Okay.
coordinate that with staff.
So we're continuing until 3/2 for a visit. Thank you.
All right,
You
great.
ready?
Oh, I have to vote.
We have to
for
move
continue.
that.
Motion to
got-
continue to March 2nd.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ron,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Carol, Denise,
Yeah. aye.
Elisa, Kwame, Sandy,
Aye.
yes. Folks, I'm gonna go as fast as I can through these 7 names because it takes a lot of time and I must
We-
get voice, so
Do you
if I-
have to, go
Yes.
through all 7 names for,
yes, for all votes
For all
on
votes.
Zoom,
Okay.
Zoom, must.
Okay.
I'm sure,
are we ready
I'm
then?
sure, yep, next one, please.
Okay, notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 at 6:30 PM on the notice of intent for Horatio and Cynthia Mello, 2013 Trust, care of GAF Engineering, Inc., 266 Main Street, Wareham, Massachusetts, 02571, to construct a pier extension and install a boat lift located on Assessor's Map 20, Lot 1031, 13 Shell Lane, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Is there anybody here representing this project?
I'm Bill Madden from GAF Engineering here on behalf of Horatio and Cynthia Mello.
Thank you, Mr. Bichette, your turn.
So this project site is at 13 Shell Lane, and the project involves the construction of an extension onto an existing pier and the construction of a boat lift. And this is in land under the ocean, within land containing shellfish, and within a coastal flood zone. Part of the work is also within the estimated habitat of rare and endangered species. A 75-foot pier extension is proposed onto the end of the existing pier, making it 191 feet long from the mean high tide line instead of its current length, which is 116 feet. 10 new 12-inch pilings are proposed for the fixed elevated pier extension, and additional pilings would be installed for the new float location and for the boat lift. Pilings would be driven from a floating barge at the site. At this time, there was no marker put out into the water to indicate where the end of the new length would be. So that is something that needs to be done. We also have not received comments from Natural Heritage on this project, and we had not received a DEP file number as well. We did just late this afternoon get comments from Mass Division of Marine Fisheries on this project. And they did have similar comments to projects that they've reviewed on neighboring properties. So at this time, I would recommend that the hearing be continued so that we get comments from Natural Heritage and for the DEP file number, and also to get the float installed out into the water at the site.
If I can move. Thank you. Bill, anything to add?
Yeah, Dave was correct. Wasn't able to get that boat out from behind the snow to put the marker in at the end of the floats. We'll get that done for the next meeting. Dave's recap was fairly accurate. It is an extension to an existing licensed pier at Mr. Mello's house. We're looking to place, like I say, 5 12-inch diameter pile bents, 15 feet on center, a boat lift, which is actually 15 by 12 and a half, retain and use the existing gangway and the 2 floats that are there. Those are the 2 existing floats that had been, one of them was modified a little bit. I mean, they were, the existing floats were, I think, 8 by 40s, and we had to trim this one down a few feet so that it met the 300-foot requirement as far as the maximum area. So those things were all taken care of. We're proposing to add on to this existing dock with one that's compliant with the rules and regulations that conservation currently has. This existing dock is a little wider than yours, but we're proposing 4 foot between the piles and what have you. Also proposing to extend water and electric down to the end of things. So those are what we're expecting to do. That's what we're planning on doing now with respect to that. The boat lift and what have you, I think it's going to be 25,000 pound boat lift. Nothing terribly large, but adequate for the intended use out there. The floats will be anchored with float piles. The original, the floats that exist out there, I think they were helicals that held them down, but we're proposing 4 float piles and also float stop under the framework of the 2 floats so that it maintains proper separation between the bottom and between the bottom of the flotation and the bottom of the bay. So that's pretty much what we propose right now. There's 19 new greenheart piles. It is 191 feet in total length. There's a note on the plan on the right-hand side of the plan. We did an eelgrass survey. I think it was September 21st of 21. Did not identify any eelgrass in the area of the project. Did extend well beyond 75 feet laterally from what we were expecting to do. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if you have any other questions that you'd like me to ask. I know we did get the letter from Division of Marine Fisheries. They talked about things. They did not designate it as significant shellfish habitat. They had their standard language in the letter that says that it's significant to the protection of the interest of the act. And that's, I think that's a little bit different than what the way the bylaw reads, in that it states that the shellfish area needs to be a significant shellfish habitat. I did take and I was interested in finding out what was going on with that over there. So I visited the town of Wareham website on the harbor master's office. In shellfishing in that particular area is limited to recreational shellfishing. It's not a commercial area. It's strictly a recreational area. It's also, I guess it's part, I don't know if it's in part of Area 4, but it's, I think it's, well, that area is part of Rainfall Management Area number 2, subject to closures as a result of rainfall. And it also has DMF seasonal closures associated with it as well. So doing a little research, just finding out that it's, it is not intended to be commercial use. It does have recreational, some recreational value to it. I think when you make the comparison or just look around what's going on townwide, it's pretty small area. It's, and I think it's probably more restricted than most areas in the town particularly due to rainfall and any seasonal closure by DMF. So I just wanted to share those few points with you folks and let you know what we have uncovered, at least with our research to date.
Thank you. Questions on the board, Ron,
No questions at this point.
Michael,
It's time, thank you.
Carol,
No questions at this point.
Denise.
The float that's on the dock that's there now, is that an attached float?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the entire question.
The float that's on the dock now, is it an attached float?
It's attached to the gangway. The gangway from the fixed pier portion ties into the float, and then the float is anchored on the seaward end with
Okay.
helical anchors.
Okay, because per the Division of Marine and Fisheries, that float is an issue. Where it's
Yes, it is,
located
and
now.
this project actually remedies that problem of grounding or close to the bottom strata of the bay. That's
Yeah,
one
it
of the
says in the letter
reasons.
that it should reduce the disturbance. I
Yes.
just want to make sure that you're aware that we have already turned down 5 docks in this area, and that historically this area of shoreline is an active recreational area used by surrounding neighbors, but that it is both open to commercial and recreational shellfishing per
It's-
the harbor master.
It's closed for commercial. You can go on the website. You'll find that out. I did that.
I'm gonna have to double check that with the
Yeah,
harbor
sure.
master, because in a
Yeah.
letter that he sent us about this area back in August, it was open to commercial.
Okay, I'm
Um,
just, that's
Yeah,
what I uncovered today.
obviously, there are other points which I guess we can bring up at the next meeting.
Yeah, and I think one thing to recognize is that entire bay, if we drew a straight line, like from Lydia's Island over to the last house on over Jordan Road, that comprises about 38 acres. So there's 38 acres or 1.16 million square feet of land containing shellfish or land under the ocean in that particular area. And when one looks at the 5 docks that are currently constructed in that particular area, in this improvement to this dock over here, we're really like about, I don't know, 2/1000ths of 1% of occupation of the water sheet in the land under the ocean. So when you start to really look at it, it does not have a very significant impact on things. I'll agree that it does have some, but when you look at the small dock and pier guidance and they talk about land containing shellfish and what have you, and when Division of Marine Fisheries does make a determination that it is a significant habitat area, one of the recommendations, at least in that guidance document, was that the area be seeded with shellfish. And that's one thing that we would be proposing to do, is make a contribution to the Harbor Master Shellfish Office, order magnitude $1,000–1,500 for reseeding of that area as mitigation. We think that's something that could be beneficial. We would do it with both cohogs and oysters as well. I think if we look at the shellfish survey that was done to a project immediately to the north, very, very modest amount of shellfish was harvested from that area where the project was to be constructed, predominantly hard shell cohogs, very few soft shell clam. I think one oyster, maybe one oyster and one bay scallop. So that is a pretty good indicator of what the area has for resources in it relative to shellfish. But nevertheless, we still must protect the land that contains the shellfish.
Correct. And you know that the commission's integrity lies on consistency with what it does in the application of our laws also.
Yeah, and equally so, we permitted a project to the south of I guess it would be more to the east of this in 2014 that was approved. And I think we did another one to the north of this that was approved in 2017 or 18. So, we have been involved with a couple of successful projects in this particular area. And I'm hopeful that we will be successful in this as well. I think if we look at the performance standards and we apply the performance standards to the project, I think that we would find that it would not have a substantial cumulative or significant effect on the resource area functions or values in that area, just by that comparison that I gave you about the three 1/1000ths rather of a percentage of that area. Additionally, with storm damage prevention, we looked at the storm damage prevention, and the predominant wind in the winter is a northeast wind. The fetch from across Shell Point is less than 1,000 feet. It's actually 920 feet as we scale. So we think that from a storm damage prevention point of view, there's not enough fetch to develop any waves of any magnitude. And then in a similar fashion, the summertime and the coastal storm events that we might see in the fall months, they originate out of the south and the southeast, and those areas are basically in the, this site is in the lee of that, so it really wouldn't be, subject to real significant wind or what have you from a significant storm event. So that's where what we've looked at thus far. We'll be happy to discuss more of it with the commission at the next meeting.
We're definitely going to have to discuss it more.
Thank you. Elisa, any questions?
I just have, how many piles altogether are you going to be placing now?
19.
19 in total plus 4 float piles?
No, that's 19 total on the job.
19 total, okay. And I'll wait my questions. Thank you.
Kwame,
Yes, real quick, Bill, the proposed length of your dock right now is 150 feet, but then you're gonna extend it, how long, how far?
On the 16-foot gangway that
Yeah.
exists today, we're going to use that same gangway and then 37 feet for the floats for a total length of 191 from mean high water. And 200
Okay.
is the maximum under the bylaw.
I think you said 193 previously. And now it's not 191, not that it
Well,
makes.
the plan says 191. I might have misspoke.
Okay,
I visited the site on Saturday and a gentleman came up and he said the float indicating the length of the pier had not been put out there. And I said, it's fine. I don't need it, but there'll be people coming after me that will want it. And he says, okay, I'll get my boat and put out the float. I guess that didn't happen, but I will hold my questions until we have a continued hearing, waiting for some documentation. Is there anybody on the call that would like to comment on this project?
I would.
And please identify yourself.
I'm Mrs. Mello.
Mhm.
We were here when you came out, and the moment you left, we did go put that float out. So it's been there since moments after you left. He put
Oh,
it,
then,
it was there. And I know nobody else has come by from the date that you were there.
then I apologize because I thought I heard someone say the float hadn't been put there.
It's there and it's still sitting there. So I don't know. I don't know that nobody else came by. My security
Okay.
camera showed nothing of anybody since the day you were there.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. Because as I said, I heard earlier on this hearing that the float had not been established, but okay, it's there.
Yeah,
Is
that
Andy-
was from me. That was from me. I mean, we did not do it. It was an oversight on my
Oh,
part.
it's you. And I'm saying, I didn't go back and check.
Exactly.
I just said, okay, they promised me
Sandy.
they'd have it. Yes.
Elisa and I were out to the site, but we did not go onto the property because of the snow. We didn't
Oh.
want to start trooping through with our boots.
Okay,
So we're gonna go back out when we can actually get out there.
all right. Okay, sorry. I apologize for saying it wasn't there because it's there. All right, we're going to have a continued hearing. Is there anybody else who would like to comment on this project? If not, we'll continue until March 2.
Motion to continue to March 2nd.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'm going down the roll call. Ron,
Yes.
Michael, Carol,
Yes.
Denise, Lisa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy.
Yes.
Yeah, we're continued until March 2nd.
Thanks very much.
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 at 6:30 PM on the notice of intent for Point Independent Yacht Club, Inc., care of GAF Engineering, Inc., 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass., to install a new sheet pile bulkhead, to relocate a dock, to reconstruct another dock, and to do maintenance dredging located on Assessors Map 2, Lot 1003, 120 Onset Ave, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Is there anybody here representing this project? Please identify yourself.
Yes, Madam Chair, Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering.
Okay. Dave, it's your turn.
Okay, so the project is at the Point Independent Yacht Club, and the project involves improvements to the existing bulkhead along the edge of the parking lot, dredging and replacement of piles within land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, and within the estimated habitat of rare and endangered species. A new sheet pile bulkhead is proposed to be installed in front of the existing steel bulkhead for its length of approximately 144 feet. This would be driven into place from the parking lot side of the property. It's also proposed to replace 28 pilings at the marina as shown on the site plan, and also to reconstruct a section of what they label as the G dock. It's also proposed to dredge approximately 100 yards of material from the area around the A dock. Dredge spoils would be placed in the dewatering area, the upper field that has been used for other dredge projects at this site. We did get comments from Mass Division of Marine Fisheries on this project, and they did have several comments. They are recommending a time of year restriction for this project from January 15th to May 31st. And that's to protect winter flounder spawning habitat. And they also state that they would like the new bulkhead to be constructed in the same location as the existing bulkhead instead of building it out in front and thereby eating up more shellfish habitat. So their recommendation is that it should be placed in the same location as the existing. And they also comment and recommend that as much of the work should be done from the upland side of the site as possible. We did get a DEP file number for this project as well. And there was a comment on there that the project would need a 401 water quality certificate if 100 yards or more of material is to be dredged. We have not received any comments from Natural Heritage at this time. So I would have to recommend a continuance of the hearing for their comments. Generally speaking, I think the majority of what's being proposed is essentially maintenance work. And so the only issue I see is the location of the new bulkhead. I do see the point that's being made, and I did actually discuss that issue already with the engineer. So, but at this point, I would recommend the hearing be continued to get comments from Natural Heritage.
Thank you, Bob. Comments, please?
Sure. So the majority of this project is extremely similar to what was permitted and recently constructed over at the Stone Bridge Marina. These sheet piles, the sheet piles are exactly the same. And then just like at Stone Bridge, we have these 12-inch diameter pilings. So we need to leave those in place to maintain the integrity of the existing wall and install the new sheet piles and install the helical anchors. And then we could, at that point, we would, the one difference with this project is we would be removing and relocating those existing piles, out to the end of those finger piers. So, Division of Marine Fisheries is being consistent because they had the exact same comment on the Stone Bridge project. The other thing I would say is that, shell fishing is not typically allowed or desirable at a marina type facility.
I wonder why.
So I wouldn't want to eat a quahog that came from within 2 feet of that existing steel bulkhead. And Dave's correct. So there is on the other two sheets that it shows the pilings, which it's just maintenance. And the G dock needs to be substantially replaced due to maintenance. And so assuming that we get a successful positive order of conditions from the commission, we'd be filing with Chapter 91 requesting that the new sheet pile bulkhead be considered a minor modification to the existing license. And I think they're looking to do the construction in the fall. So it would be well outside of the time restriction by Division of Marine Fisheries. And then I would just answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you.
Bob, I just did have one quick question. So on the plan, it shows that the section of the G dock to be rebuilt is just this hatched area. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Other things may come up in the future, of course, but that's the fixed portion of the dock. And then you can see the gangway and the rest of it is floats.
Yep. No, that was it. I just wanted to clarify that. Okay.
All right.
Dave, this is Chris Cuppins. Just to comment on that G dock, it was essentially the same age and condition as the gangway that we did probably 5-6 years ago now. And it's just become apparent that we need to replace it, for safety. That's why we're doing that small section. It just wasn't done when we did the rest of the gangway. And to the comment on the amount of dredging, we are going to take less than 100 yards. I think somehow that number got rounded up. So as it pertains to the water quality thing, we don't have any intention of going above 100 yards of dredging. And the other issue is, you guys laugh about the shell fishing, but as you're well aware, I mean, we're looking to have a storm drain repaired on Independence Lane. And if there's damage being done down there, it's probably more to do with runoff than anything else from all the streets. Onset Ave, Hammond Street, they all funnel down Independence Lane into the storm drain that's broken and is undermining the wall, and any contaminants that are on the road are getting washed into the harbor there. So I certainly don't let my kids eat the quahogs adjacent to the bulkhead. So.
Questions, Ron?
No questions.
Michael?
No, I'll just wait till the comments come in. Thank you.
Carol?
No questions.
Denise? Elissa?
It's me. I gotta unmute. Could you address the Division of Marine Fisheries issue with the bulkhead, that they would like it to stay within the same footprint that it is? Would that be an issue or a problem to do?
Yes, it would be an issue. And I think my point was they've consistently requested that. And, you know, we made a successful argument. We have good reasons for doing it the way that we're doing it, which the commission approved and Chapter 91 Waterways approved in the case of the Stonebridge Marina. So, you know, we want to be consistent as well. We want to make sure that when the new sheet piles go in, that there's no just, you know, limited disturbance or any disruption to that existing wall. If we were, it would be a lot more potential for sediment and all kinds of stuff to go into the water if we do it in a way that complies with matching the same footprint of that existing bulkhead. So, you know.
And I don't understand why the division would make that comment.
I have to take it up with them. I just, you know, they've been consistent and we have our reasons. And, you know, there was a short period of time over on that other project where the existing wall lost its integrity and caused problems. This is a different situation. There's no slope up above this. It's a paved area. But you don't know what's immediately on the backside of that existing bulkhead. So it's much more protection for the environment to do it the way that we're proposing.
All right, thank you.
Elissa,
Going back to the same with the bulkhead, how much extra space do you put in one bulkhead against the old bulkhead? How much space
So on
does
this,
it take? I mean, on the Stonebridge, I don't think it was 3 feet. I think
no,
it was
and
much less.
this is exactly the same as what got constructed. We did modify our approvals at Stonebridge a couple of times. But so on the second sheet is the cross section, which shows a 12-inch gap, the exact same as Stonebridge because of the 12-inch pilings. And then it's a 14-inch corrugated composite sheet pile. So, you know, as tight as we can get it, you know, it's you know, basically 26 inches if we can get it that tight. The key is just not to have any damage to that existing steel pile bulkhead, you know, when the new one's going in.
Okay. Back to, we had talked a little bit about this with their other dredging project. We said, is there any place in, I mean, I've forgotten the reason that we don't use that sand once it's dewatered that they've stored on the parking lot to help refurbish other beaches in Wareham. I know there's a reason, but I can't remember what it was. I think Dave mentioned it to me.
Well, yes, because typically it would be considered to be contaminated material, so it wouldn't want to be used for beach nourishment.
And I can confirm, and I thank Chris for bringing it up. When I did a takeoff, you see the limit of dredging line, and it starts at elevation -2.5. And I did a takeoff from that line right up to the bulkhead, and I came up with less than 100 yards, maybe 75 to 85 yards of material. I just thought it was best to list it in the notice of intent as a maximum of 100 yards.
Thank you.
So.
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
okay. I'm going to go back to the bulkhead. Yes, I can see that it's going to be a total of 26 inches further away from the existing bulkhead for the new bulkhead to be installed. Okay, I honestly would not be happy if that existing steel bulkhead had to be removed, because who knows what's behind it. I would be concerned about doing much more damage by removing that bulkhead. I understand that the pylons that are there must stay because they are holding up the bulkhead, and that the new sheet pylons go up against the pylons that are, too many pylons. The poles that are there. So I would not support the removing of the existing steel bulkhead in order to not encroach into the bay by 26 inches. It's too scary as to what might be beyond that. But thank you for giving us our dimensions. So we're looking at 26 inches further into the bay for 144 feet, that's my understanding. Is there anybody on the audience, anybody online that would like to comment on this project? We are going to continue. Is there somebody trying to speak? I don't understand them at all. Dave, do you see anybody trying to get on?
I don't see any hands or anybody looking to speak, no.
Okay. So I think we wait until March 2nd.
Yes.
Motion to continue to March 2nd.
Second,
I have a motion in the second. All in favor? Ron,
Yes.
Michael, Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes,
Kwame, Sandy, we'll
Yes.
continue into March 2nd. The next one, please.
sure.
Thank you.
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 at 6:30 PM on the amended order of conditions for Danny Warren, QOZB LLC, care of GAF Engineering Inc., 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass. To request a plan change reconfiguring the layout of the dock system of the approved commercial marina located on Assessors Map 47, Lot 1124, 59 Main Street, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Thank you. Who will be speaking on the behalf of this project?
I'm Bill Madden from GAF Engineering here on behalf of Warren QOZB LLC.
It's all right, it's Danny.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Bichette, your turn.
Yeah, so the project site is at 59 Main Street, and this request is to amend an order of conditions to include a plan revision. The original project was for the construction of a commercial marina on the Wareham River in land under the ocean, within land containing shellfish, within riverfront, and within the buffer zone to coastal bank. The originally approved plan was to install floating docks along the existing bulkhead with 15 finger piers going out into the river so that they would be perpendicular to the bulkhead to create boat slips. The requested plan change proposes to reconfigure the floating dock so that the slips end up being parallel with the bulkhead as shown on this plan that we see. So this would be more in the same configuration as the neighboring marinas along the river in this area. The area where the docks are proposed is within the same general area as what was originally approved, but just with a different layout. The new configuration would result in a reduction in number of piles that would be needed to be installed as well. So I would recommend the approval of the proposed plan change with the same conditions that were issued on the original order, which included a time of year restriction of the work from March 15th to July 15th.
Bill, anything to add?
I think Dave pretty much covered it. Like you say, it's a reconfiguration of the previously approved Chapter 91 license out here. So Dave's got it pretty well covered. I'll happy to answer any questions anyone else may have.
Ron, questions?
No questions.
Michael,
No questions.
Carol,
No questions.
Denise,
Does this, hold on, does this reconfiguration affect the number of boats that can dock there or the size of the boats in comparison to the other plan?
It escapes me the number of slips. I believe it's pretty close to the same as what it was, maybe. I don't recall what the other one was. I don't happen to have the plan in front of me. I'm pretty sure it's the same.
Okay, what about the size of the boats? Same
The slip
also?
spaces were, if you could you move up that, Dave, would you mind, where the dimensions are on things? They're 14. I mean, they're all about the same size. There wasn't really a lot of room for any significantly large boats. So it looks like to me that, we're looking at things in the order of magnitude of 30 feet in length and what have you. It's about the same based upon what that other configuration was.
Okay, thank you.
Alyssa,
No, none.
Kwame,
No, thank you.
Sandy does have a comment. Having used a boat at Wareham Marina for years and years and years, this looks like it's going to be a lot easier to get in and out with that tidal flowing up that river. For those that are boating in there, they're going to thank you for the change. Is there anybody on the call that would like to comment on this project? I hear none.
Move to close the hearing?
Second.
Second.
I have a motion to close the hearing and a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Elisa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy.
Yes.
The hearing is closed. Who wants to take a stab at the conditions?
So we have the same.
Can we just say that we move to accept with conditions as stated,
As previously stated,
previously stated? Yes.
I think so. So that's the motion.
Second.
All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Mike, Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy.
Yes.
Yes, and this is, you're up against a March 15th deadline to get this thing started, completed.
Yep, we
There you
are.
go, Bill.
Okay, thank you all very much. Much appreciated.
Okay. Yay, we finished 2. Wow. Okay, continued hearings. For those that are on the line, we have 4 continuance requests. We have a continued request from the town of Wareham for Heinz Field, David Andre for 69 Great Neck Road, Wareham PV1 for 0 Route 25, and Dana Levy and Denise Long for 80 Mayflower Ridge. They've all requested a continuance. For those that are waiting for those, we will continue them without any discussions. Next first continued hearing. Patrick Hyland, 13 Mayflower Ridge. I think that's 33 Mayflower Ridge, or is it 13?
13.
13.
Unfortunately, the plans say 33 Mayflower Ridge Drive. Or did I read the plans wrong?
They're tiny. It does say 33.
Okay, but the
Uh,
hearing for 13. Okay, Mr. Bichette, please talk to us about the project.
Yes, so the project is, as it's stated in the application, is 13 Mayflower Ridge Drive, and the project involves the construction of a duplex and associated site work and septic systems. Part of this work is in the buffer zone to wetlands that exist on the other side of Mayflower Ridge Drive. And so that's why the project is in front of us. So the houses and the septic systems and the majority of the site work are actually outside the buffer zone to the wetland. But there is some grading and site work that would be within the buffer zone to the wetland, which is up against the street. And they do show erosion control along the edge of the street to contain the site work at this property for this project. At the last meeting, the commission had some concerns with runoff from the driveway. And so we have a revised plan in front of us, which incorporates a system to capture water from the driveway. And I'll let the engineer kind of go over that, how that's set up. But generally, I would recommend the approval of the project with a negative determination, number 3.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. I didn't ask if there was anybody here to speak to that project.
Oh, no worries.
Hi, Brian. I'm sorry.
Hello, Brian Wallace, with JC Engineering. Thank you, Dave. So at the last meeting, the commission asked us to provide some dry wells for the roof as well as for the driveway as best we could. And what we had proposed here on the revised plan is to provide sort of 2 separate systems. On the left-hand side of the house, we have a 600-gallon bit with surrounding stone to handle a portion, half of the roof runoff on that side. And then on the to the bottom right of the dwelling, we would have another 2 600-gallon leaching pits with stone that would be connected to the other half of the roof, and then also a trench drain that would run across the length of the driveway right at the property line to capture any runoff coming off that portion of the driveway. So these systems were sized up for the 25-year storm, so we would believe they'd be adequate in handling runoff from the roof and from the driveway. And we made sure to keep all of the work still out of that 100-foot buffer zone.
Questions from the board, Ron?
Sorry, my buttons keep not working. No questions.
Michael?
No questions. Thank you.
Carol?
No questions. Thank you.
Denise?
I see that it's still stating a paved driveway. I know we were talking about pervious. Was any consideration taken into that or any discussion of that?
Yeah, I mean, what we find with pervious pavement is, it's often hard to maintain. It's first, expensive to put in compared to regular asphalt. And then over time, if it's not maintained, it really doesn't behave as it should. So we felt the best way would be to include a trench drain that would capture runoff from, the portion of the driveway where you would have cars, people washing cars, oil dripping off onto the pavement. It would get captured in that trench drain. So we felt like that would be the best solution, short-term and long-term.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Elisa?
No, I sort of was thinking about that, and I don't know enough about those drains to comment.
Kwame?
No questions. Thank you.
If you're going to put in a pervious sidewalk parking driveway, you're going to have to vacuum that thing at least once a year to get all the dirt out of the crevices so it works like it should. I think by using this drain, we capture the runoff and put it away from the wetlands. So I'm pleased with the changes you've made. Is there anybody here that would like to comment on this project? Hearing none. Can I get a motion to
Move to close the hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
In a second, all in favor, Ron?
Yes.
Michael? Carol? Denise?
Yes.
Elisa?
Yes,
Kwame? Sandy? The
Yep.
hearing is closed.
I move to accept the project as presented.
With a -3.
Negative
With a
3.
-3.
That's the motion. I have a second. All in favor, Ron?
Yes.
Mike? Carol? Denise?
Yes.
Elisa?
Yes,
Kwame? Sandy? Yes. We got another one done. Whoa, that's 3. Okay, next one. Eric Wade, 3 Admirals Way. Is there anybody here representing that project?
Good evening, Brad Bertolo, JC Engineering.
Okey dokey. Mr. Bichette, your turn.
Okay. Let's get my
We
paperwork
got a
straight.
new plan, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Okay, so this project is at 3 Admiral's Way in Onset, and this project involves the demolition of an existing home and the reconstruction of a new home in the same general footprint as the previous location, and this is within a coastal flood zone. So the work is within flood zone AE elevation 14. There really is no work within the buffer zone to any other resource areas. At the last meeting, there was some comment and concern about grading and how runoff might go on to adjacent properties. So we asked for a modified plan to make sure that that was addressed. And that is what we have in front of us tonight, which shows some modified drainage and also a dry well system to handle runoff from the building. So at this stage, I would recommend the approval of the project with a negative termination number 2.
Thank you. Brad, anything to add?
Dave explained it well. The roof runoff will be captured by subsurface infiltration in the low point of the property. That's the existing low point of the property is going to be maintained. It's still going to stay the same. And this should actually improve drainage conditions because the current roof is about the same size as the proposed structure. So there'll be considerably less runoff on this property.
Thank you. Questions on the board, Ron?
No questions.
Michael,
Questions?
Carol,
No questions.
Denise,
No questions.
Elisa,
No questions.
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Sandy. No questions. Okey dokey.
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
First, got to get public comments.
Oh, yeah. Is
public
there anybody
comment.
here? Is there anybody online that would like to comment on this project? Seeing none,
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor? Quickly, Ron,
Yes.
Michael, Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Elisa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy.
Yes.
Yes, I had 7 yeses. Okay. We've closed it.
Move to accept the plan as revised with a -3.
2.
3, I thought.
Oh,
Two.
2.
2, -2. Sorry.
Second.
That's the motion and it's seconded. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Michael, Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Elisa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, another one done. You know, it's hard looking at a plan, our agenda with at least 15 continued hearings on it. That gets depressing. Okay, next one, continued hearing.
Just an
Is-
FYI, my computer's acting, the bandwidth on network in there is acting awfully low. So if I get kicked off, please let me back in, okay? Or I may
Okay.
not hear you or whatever, okay?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm having the same problem.
okay.
All right, the next continued hearing was Peak Contractors for 150 Cremesit Road. Oh, we asked them to pull that house back further from the wetlands. Okay, Ms. Bichette, your turn. Oh, is there anybody here? Brad, are you here to represent this project?
I am.
Okay,
Once
thank
again.
you. Okay, Dave.
Okay, just let me get this squared away here. Okay, so this project site is at 150 Cremesit Road, and this application is to request a plan change to allow the relocation of the proposed house on the lot, which is within a coastal flood zone, within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland, and with in close proximity to riverfront area. There was an existing dwelling that was approved to be constructed within flood zone AE elevation 16, approximately 80 feet from the edge of the wetland. The original request change that we got at the last meeting was to propose to put the house closer to the wetland and within a velocity flood zone. The proposed location would place the dwelling within flood zone VE elevation 18. And so it would have to be built up on stilts and would only be 50 feet from the wetland. So it was my recommendation to not approve the plan change because in my opinion, we should just leave the original location, which is outside the more significant VE zone, just leave it in the A zone. The commission discussed the project and asked for a revised plan to see if the house could be pulled back further from the wetland. We do have a revised plan. And so I'll let Brad sort of speak to that, and then the commission can decide how they want to proceed with the requested amendment.
Okay, Brad.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, after the last hearing, it seems like the the commission had some concerns regarding the separation between the house and wetlands, which basically corresponds to the separation between the work limit and the house. The proposed design, as shown on the screen now, we relocated the house 10 feet away from the water and 10 feet closer to the south. So 10 feet closer to the neighbor's house and 10 feet further from the salt marsh or the river out in the back. In doing so, it increased the separation between the erosion control and the house, provide some additional space around the house. I know there was discussions regarding some type of permanent marker at the 30-foot buffer, and we're willing to put some type of marker there. Typically, split rail fence is proposed, but the commission had some concerns regarding that not lasting too long, and maybe some type of boulders. We're willing to put something there if the commission likes it. I just didn't want to show it on this plan and anticipate possibly a revised plan if this moves forward. We also shortened the driveway length so that the drive under garage comes in from the front and the driveway stops roughly at the front of the dwelling. We also called for a shell or stone driveway. So that reduces the amount of driveway footprint. The actual driveway, for the most part, is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone to the coastal bank. That's on the left side of the screen and is just sticking into the 100-foot wetland offset for the wetland that wraps around the north side of the proposed house. Besides that, grading is pretty much the same. Elevations are the same as the original approved plan in regards to required fill, about 170 cubic yards. The original approved footprint had fill being placed in front of the dwelling upwards to about elevation, I believe, 16. That was going to be a foundation, poured concrete foundation for a portion, and solid walls with flood vents. The proposed design, by relocating the house to the rear, would be required to be on stilts. It's just pretty much on the other side of the flood zone line. We originally proposed it on the AE side. Now we're just kind of on the opposite side in the VE zone. The proposed first floor elevation basically matches the original design. We had elevation 21.0 as the first floor. We're proposing 21.5 on this revised amended plan. That leaves enough room to provide garage space underneath. And that was the initial intent with the first plan as well. So that's why foundation was up higher on the original approved plan. I believe this is basically what the commission was looking for. It is a better design than what was previously amended, and I think it's an overall better design than the originally approved plan due to the amount of trees that we're maintaining in the vicinity of the former approved footprint. A portion of that area was originally proposed to be cleared right up to the northern property line. There is a kind of a light gray line that follows that northern property line all the way in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, right up to where it ties into the hay bale line that's currently proposed along the property line. That basically follows the same footprint. So that area does provide more area of native vegetation to be maintained. And if the commission has any questions on the layout, I'd be happy to answer anything you may have.
Thank you. Ron,
No questions.
Michael,
May have been mentioned in the report. I just can't remember it. Is anything going to be done with the land that the house is currently on? Kind of like maybe like grassed over or something of that nature?
there's
Well,
no
this,
dwelling there.
this particular lot does not have a house. This is a proposed house. The other block that you see was the location of where the house was approved to be, but there's currently no house on the lot.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, because I've been to that property. That's probably why I couldn't find the current house, because I've been down that road before, and okay, that makes more sense now. Gotcha. Okay.
Carol,
No questions.
Denise,
You're muted, Denise.
Keep doing that. What does the property owner want to do with the delineation? What are they proposing?
Are you talking along the no-touch zone?
Wetlands, correct,
The
yes.
work limit?
I know we were talking about putting up a split rail fence. And a lot of the people didn't care for that because it required maintenance, obviously. So what is the homeowner willing or wanting to do?
We could place a row of boulders. The fence itself is not going to fall apart in a couple of years. It'll last quite a while.
I know that because we have one on our property delineating us, but it does require upkeep as long as the homeowner knows that and is willing to make sure that the fence just doesn't completely fall apart. But I mean, as long as you're replacing rails every couple of years and things, I mean, it
So if
serves.
you could get boulders in and not have to do that, that might be easier.
I don't know what something like that costs. I have no idea. But I mean, obviously the boulders look nicer.
We're fine with the boulders if that's what the commission would prefer.
Okay.
But we're willing to put any type of barrier along that that work limit. It kind of wraps around the side and back of the house, where it's kind of in the general vicinity of the 30-foot buffer.
So the homeowner does not have a problem with boulders then?
No.
Oh, good.
anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Lisa,
No, no questions.
Kwame,
No questions. Thank you.
I have nothing to add. Is there anybody that online that would like to comment on this project? Hearing none?
I move to close the hearing.
Second.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Ron?
Yeah.
Michael, Carol, Denise,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy.
Yes.
Hearing closed.
Move to accept the project as presented with a delineation of the wetland done by boulders at this point.
You mean the 30-foot no activity zone?
That's what I mean.
Okey dokey.
Second.
That be the motion. And a second, all in favor, Ron, Michael, Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy.
Yes.
Another one done. Okey dokey, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next one. Oh, Chris DeFoli. Is there anybody here for this project?
Yeah, good evening, Brian Wallace with JC Engineering.
Okay. Brian. God. All right, all right, I'm gonna make a comment. This first came to us in November 18th, 2020. Continued until 7/21 because it needed an eelgrass study. Continued to 8/4, 8/18, 9/15, 10/6, 10/20, 11/3, 11/17, 12/15. Continued until 1/19/2022 and 2/16/2022. And we're here because we've heard nothing for 1, 2, 3, for a dozen meetings. And I think it's time to get this resolved. So Brian, Mr. Bichette will speak to the project and then you can have your turn.
Okay, so the project site is at 9 Lydia's Island Road, and the project involves the construction of a pier, ramp and float system within land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, and within a coastal flood zone. So there's a 170-foot pier, ramp and float system proposed out into Shell Point Bay. The fixed pier would be approximately 4 by 114 feet, with the ramp and float off the end. The proposed float would have an approximate water depth at low tide between 3 and 3.5 feet. This project is in the same vicinity as one that we just denied recently. It's maybe a property or two over from that. And it would have the same issues relative to shellfish impacts as the other one. We did get a DEP file number for this project. We did finally get an eelgrass study done, which did not indicate any eelgrass in the area. But based on the site and the issues at this location, I would recommend that the project not be approved for the same reasons that we denied the other dock project on Lydia's Island Road, which has to do with permitted impacts to shellfish habitat and to recreational access to the area.
Brad, sorry, Brian, any comments?
Yes, thank you, Dave. And first, I'd just like to say we do appreciate the patience of the commission up to this point. We do know there's been several continuances as we navigate this process, and as it was with the abutting dock as well. So I just wanted to sort of restate what this project is. It's a new permanent pier, about 119 feet in length, along with a seasonal aluminum ramp and floats. The dock itself was designed in accordance with the design specifications within the Wareham Wetland bylaw. And my understanding, is that the shellfish is a key issue for the commission on this one. And that's something we've recently been trying to gather some more information on. And what we would like to have the opportunity to do is conduct a shellfish study in this area. It's something we had initially scheduled back in January, and it's been, we were hoping to have this tonight to consider, but this part of the bay has been frozen since January, and we haven't been able to do that survey. But once we are able to get those results, we would like Mass Division of Marine Fisheries, as well as the Harbor Master, to review those results and be able to officially designate whether this would be a significant shellfish habitat as it's stated in the wetland bylaw, or if this is just simply land containing shellfish. So we would certainly want the opportunity to provide that information. It's been something we've been working to get scheduled and completed. And then in addition to that, the comments from DMF as well as the harbor master, we would want to, possibly put together a plan, a mitigation plan for reseeding. That's certainly something the applicant is willing to do as a way to mitigate any impacts to the shellfish in this area. So again, I understand we've continued this several times. We would just like one more opportunity to get this piece of information to the commission to consider one last time.
And Brian, when do you think you might have it? And don't tell me when the ice gets out of the harbor.
Well, we do want to give ourselves a little more time just in the event of more bad weather. So we would like to look at the first meeting in April. That way we can have the survey done and then get that correspondence back from the Division of Marine Fisheries and the harbor master and develop any type of mitigation plan. So we feel that would be enough time to have that prepared.
Okay, questions from, that's April 6th.
April 6th, yep.
Questions on the board? Ron?
Yeah, I mean, so we go, this project goes back, well over a year. And, here we are now, asking for more time to do a study. What has prohibited that from happening already? Other than a last ditch effort to try to, either have a project approved or disapprove. I mean, I just don't see why we waited till now to talk about a study on shellfish. So why now and not before? I guess that's my biggest question.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason is, we saw the reasons why the abutting dock was, denied, and that was in November. So it's, we've been planning and sort of evaluating the best way to move forward on this. And, it's the shellfish study. It's something we had initiated a while back. The consultant, had a bit of time before we could really get out there. And by the time we were able to get out there, unfortunately, the ice prevented the survey from occurring. So that's sort of the timeline that we're at right now.
That's a good question, Ron, because we denied a pier down off of over Jordan well before the last one we denied on
February
this
2nd.
location. So, I mean, it's not as if we haven't denied a pier project other than a couple months ago, but okay. All right, Michael.
I got none at this time. I think, I'm not sure what else there's really more here at this point. I don't know how many other piers in the area, and it's just been so long. I just got no other questions. Thank you.
Carol.
No questions. Thank you.
Denise, please.
I guess I need to go through everything from the last 4 docks that have come in. There's 4 docks in the area. A 5th is grandfathered in. We've had 5 docks be proposed for this area. It's historically a very small area of shoreline that is active with recreation. It's used by the surrounding neighborhood and is open to both commercial and recreational shell fishing. The commission's integrity lies in our consistent application of our bylaws. While each project needs to be evaluated on its own merit, our commission needs to keep an eye on the health and the well-being of our community and the environment as a whole. The recreational value of this area is important, and each of the projects inhibits and is detrimental to the recreational value of this area. In terms of our bylaws, I think I've stated those at some of the other meetings. I don't know if you want me to state them again. But this area is open to the public. It includes, without limitation, purposes for which the resource area is used by the public for navigation, shellfishing, swimming, whatever. I just don't think they need another dock in this small recreational area. So I guess I don't have any questions, but those are my comments.
Elisa,
Well, I know they keep telling us that they have plenty of water underneath the propellers and all. And this one has float that go on the dock or on the
float
lift.
stops,
Float
float stops.
on the lift, yes. I would like to see if we can get this off our list. So, no real questions, just.
Kwame,
I guess there's a reason for this to be continued and continued and continued again. So hopefully we get all the facts straight and figure out what's going on with this and move forward. So it's not really a question, but I just want to see if we can get this going or if we're not going to get this going.
can someone, if I don't have strong enough glasses to tell me, what is the distance between the tip of those two piers that I see on the screen? One I know has been denied and the other one is Christofoli's.
37.
I can't. 37.
37.
From one dock to another, and if a boat is a 14 or 15 foot wide boat.
Length.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that gives 7 feet to go between the two boats that would be on that pier. Interesting. Okay, so, hey, commission, do we give them until April 6th, or have we said you've had a whole year to do this study? Why are you now saying I can't do it because there's ice? There's no reason why it couldn't have been done in July, August, September, October, November. Comments?
Do you have to ask for comments from anybody in the audience?
Yep, I'm going to, but I just want you people to consider whether or not we continue this, but in the meantime,
Continued enough.
okay,
I've had
is there
it.
anybody online that would like to comment on this project?
I'd like to move to close the hearing.
Second,
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Ron,
yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Sandy, no. The hearing is closed. Someone wants to take a motion?
Tough one.
Like to move to deny this project.
Please state the reasons.
As stated previously, for the docks in the area as being detrimental to each of the projects inhibits and is detrimental to the recreational value of this area. And I think we also were quoting some things from the division of, David, was it the division?
Yeah, the cumulative impact
Correct.
to the resource area.
Resource area.
Okay, that's the reason for the denial.
Second,
Second.
All in favor of the denial, Ron,
yes.
Michael, Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy.
Yes.
Yes, it is denied. All right. You can put this one aside. Next one we have is Kenneth Nielsen, 4 Chambly Way.
Right.
Is there anybody here for this project?
Yes, Madam Chair. Dave DeVicken representing.
Hey, David. Mr.
Let me
Pichette, you wanna
just,
bring
let me just
bring it up?
get this plan here.
While you bring that up, my outside cat is screaming for food. I'll be right back. sorry, it was a raccoon fight.
Ah,
Oh, my word.
They don't share the outside kitty food very well. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm back.
Okay, so this project site is at 4 Shanley Way in Onset, and this project involves the reconstruction of a seawall at this location along a coastal bank and within land subject to coastal storm flow. So the existing stone seawall is to be removed and replaced with a concrete block type wall, similar to others we've seen recently done over in Onset. These are the bigger concrete blocks that would be proposed here. And so the new wall would be wider than the existing wall, but the face of the new proposed blocks would be at the same location as the existing wall. So the blocks would extend back into the property. We did get a revised plan from the original one that we had received, which does extend the wall and sort of curve it at what would be the easterly side of the site to help contain that bank, which was starting to erode as well. So that's essentially the nature of the project. This is in a velocity flood zone. It is a very tight site in terms of being able to get access to do any work here. So it definitely is tricky, but with this material, they believe they can bring this in from a barge and then place it where it needs to be with a small machine. Access from the landward side seems as though it's not going to be feasible based on existing construction up against the sideline of the property line and the railroad tracks that run on the backside of this site. So I'll let the engineer kind of explain further any points he would like to make, but I would recommend ultimately that the project be approved to reconstruct the seawall. We do have a DEP file number for the project, so that would be the way to go. If the commission does approve it, I would say that there would want to be conditions added that any barge that comes in would have to come in at higher tide so that you don't have grounding of the barge. Also, that if there's any material to be transported from the barge, that mats be used if that were needed to be done at a point where a machine had to travel somewhere along the beach area. So those would be my main 2 points, and I'll let Dave speak further to it.
Okay, David, your turn.
I'm good with his presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Did anybody get down to see it?
Yes.
Okay. All right, questions from the board. Ron,
No question.
Michael,
Just one quick question. With using a barge, that barge is obviously going to be stored somewhere else, not too close to where this dwelling house and so forth is, correct?
That's correct. It'll be stored in deeper water, deep water.
And and it's not that far from there, correct? Or it's not too far anyway?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that question.
How should I put it? The barge isn't that, the barge wouldn't be that, I'm sorry, the deeper water anyway, wouldn't be that far from there, correct?
That's correct.
All right, that's all. Thank you. I think Sandy stepped away from it.
raccoons came back. Carol,
No
questions?
no questions, thank you.
Denise,
The letter, it stated something about an additional cross-section B-B has been added to the illustration. I don't know what that means.
Actually, you can see it on the screen.
Okay.
what it means is, the original plan had a cross-section, which is left of the cross-section you're seeing on the plan.
Okay,
As Dave and I met on the site and we looked at the eroded area to the east, it's actually a shorter wall. It's only 2 blocks high. So that cross-section called section BB represents the very easterly portion of the project, which will be half the wall of half the height of the wall as what is proposed throughout the primary work area. In other words, it
Okay.
peters out towards the east. It's smaller.
not towards east. Okay, thank you. I didn't understand what that meant.
You're welcome.
Alyssa,
Is there a stairway being proposed here as well?
Yes.
Okay, that's something new to this, is it not?
No, it was on the original application. It's in
Okay.
the notice of intent. There is a concrete block staircase that takes you from the deck down to the beach.
Yeah.
It certainly needs to be repaired south from the top of the wall to the beach. It's proposed to be pile supported timber. Right now, it's all concrete, solid block. And we wanted to permit that staircase being replaced during the construction phase.
Okay.
And there are details on the west side of the plan.
Right. And Dave, you had some questions as far as that you really love but you really liked the idea of boulders as a wall as opposed to cement blocks. Is that true?
Well, I think what I initially commented on was to try to have more of a sloped wall, like the adjacent property. But in terms of getting that kind of material and machinery in to accomplish that, I'm not sure that it's going to be feasible here. So that's why they've proposed this alternate material. When that other wall was done, it came in from a different location and it was able to be done. But since they didn't carry it on at the time when that was built down to this property years ago, now there's really no access point to get down to that point with that level of machinery that would be needed for that type of a wall.
Okay. And then what are these stairs going to be made of?
Timber, pressure treated timber.
That's what I thought. Pressure treated timber. And this is pressure treated with something that's not dangerous to the wildlife. I mean, it's marine grade.
The timbers mainly would be above the high tide line. There's nothing below the tide line.
but they gotta go on the ground.
Pardon me?
They
Sam?
do, but
Oh,
But
you're gonna
they're-
put helixes into the ground.
That's
steel.
correct.
So,
That's-
so there will be no wood into the surface of the ground.
that's correct.
Okay, so the timber staircases, but the support beams will all be the steel shafts.
That is correct.
Because the plan says optional for the stairway.
Yes, we want to permit the staircase, but he wants to price out the staircase from the deck of the house down to the wall. He has
Okay.
to replace what's in front of the wall because it's nothing more than a bunch of rubble blocks. So that definitely will be replaced on the beach.
Yeah, that was not an easy walk down. Anything else, Alyssa?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
how will the old material be removed from the site?
It's going to be removed in the same manner that the blocks will be brought onto the site, loaded onto the barge and barged off.
So a small machine will help with that loading and therefore placed on the barge, and then it will be removed from the site.
That's correct.
So we're looking at a note of standard conditions with mats on the beach for the machine. The work will be done from a barge, 3 hours before and after high tide or 2 hours?
2.
Which one?
Two.
2 hours is preferred.
2 hours.
Is there anything else that we talked about for a condition on here? All materials are to be removed. Anything else?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3. I had 3 conditions. Okay, is there anybody on the line that would like to comment on this project? Okay,
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Michael, Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Melissa, Kwame, Sandy, the
Yes.
hearing is closed. Somebody take a.
I move to
stab-
accept the project with the standard conditions, the fact that you put down mats if there's any machinery on the beach, that a barge will be bringing the material to the beach and taking off the waste material, and all work should be done 2 hours before or after from 2 hours before high tide and after high tide.
That
Second.
be the motion. I have a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Michael, Carol,
Yes.
Denise, Melissa,
Yes.
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy. Yes. Okey dokey. Next continue, it is Continental Capital Partners, 5 Butler Cove Road. Is there anybody here for this project?
Yes, Madam Chair, Dave DeVicton representing.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Bichette, your turn.
Okay, let me just get this so people can read it. So this project site is at 5 Butler's Cove Road, and this project involves the removal of an existing pier, ramp, and float system, and the replacement of it with a new fixed elevated pier, ramp with new floats. So there's currently an older structure at this location with quite a sizable float system, a lot of which sits on the bottom at low tide. The proposal is to remove that and replace it with a fixed elevated pier with a ramp, 2 floats that would sit out in generally deeper water than the current float system. The overall length of the structure is going to be pretty much similar, as you can see from the plan. The pilings would be installed from a barge, and the floats would have float stops built into it to maintain the floats at least 24 inches off the bottom. We did get a DEP file number on this, and we did get comments from the Division of Marine Fisheries, which they didn't really have any concerns about the project, since again, it's sort of a replacement project. So the other thing that's shown on this plan as well is there's a bench seat on the right-hand side of the fixed elevated pier. And there's also a couple of pilings that are proposed on the sort of along the ramp that are meant to be tie-off pilings for boats that might be tied up to the floats. I'm not sure I necessarily see the need for such a thing here, but I wanted to point it out to the commission because there are a couple of pilings proposed beyond just what's needed to hold the floats in place. So That's what's in front of us to review. So I'll let Dave add any further comments and the commission can ask any questions they have.
Okay, Dave, you're up.
Thank you, Sandy. As far as the tie-off piles, if you look at the shaded area, it depicts the existing flotations that the applicant has out there. He's trying to mimic that L-shaped footprint that you see without floats. Obviously, there's 480 square feet of flotation that's out there as of our survey. And Dave told me that the commission strictly sticks to 300 square feet. So we've whittled it down to 300 square feet, but he wanted to keep those two piles because he wants to be able to tie off a small boat over there in that location. And my clients also informed me that although this pier is not licensed, he claims it was the first one put into the code by his grandfather way back in the day. And if anybody's visited the site, this pier is ready to fall down. The pilings down at water level have eroded down to half of their normal size. So I'm hopeful that we can get a license to reconstruct this summer. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so they're going to go after chapter 91, right?
Yes, it is. It's in motion. The public notice for the project was published approximately 6 weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah, it was not an easy thing to walk on. It really was very uncomfortable. Okay, questions on the board, Ron?
No questions.
Michael?
Thank you.
Carol?
No questions.
Denise?
This was another area that I just could not believe the number of docks that were all out there. But my question had been why a total rebuild, but I guess I didn't. We had a hard time trying to find this area. We ended up from East Wareham into West Wareham. Google sent us all over the place. But I now understand why it's a total rebuild if it's in such bad condition as Sandy states. So.
Oh, it's rickety.
Okay, that was what I needed and wanted to find out.
Okay, anything else?
Not for
Melissa?
me.
Is it the same sort of footprint as the other, or is it longer? I mean, I see your shaded area. What is it?
The shade area is what exists now. The
Okay.
wide area is what they're proposing.
Are they proposing to blend the two, or is
No,
one? No.
the one that's there now is gone, will be
Okay.
gone.
So
Totally
really,
removed.
it's 2.3, 2.5 feet longer than the other, something like that.
The length is actually approximately, the length of the pile supported pier is about 11 feet longer.
Okay.
But the existing width, I believe, is 6 feet wide now. We're bringing it down to 4 feet.
Okay.
And we're extending it slightly to push the floats. We're putting a longer gangway in. Right now, they get to the end of where they are now with too many floats sitting on the bottom. So we're pushing the floats out to the seaward end and extending the pier in order to accomplish that.
Okay. Thank you.
Kwame?
No, I mean, this is a total restoration probably needed, so I'm for this.
Okay. Will the new floats be removed from the water for the winter? Or
That's a
will they
great
stay in the-
question. I was surprised when I went out there with Dave that not only this site's floats, but it seemed everybody in the Cove had their floats out there for the winter, which I found odd. But when we're done building this, there's going to be vertical chains put at the 6 float piles so they can lift it off the bottom for the winter in place. So the floats would be jacked up and level with the pier.
Okay. I have nothing else I like the idea of the float stops 24 inches off the bottom because this little sucker sits on the bottom, which has not been good for years. All right. Is there anybody on the call, on the line that would like to comment on this project? Okay. What shall we do?
Motion to close the hearing.
I
Second.
have that motion. I have a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Michael, Carol,
Yes.
Denise, Alyssa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy. We're closed the hearing. Standard order of conditions, I don't see us having anything above and beyond. I know Mr. Bichette talked about these extra pylons that are sitting out there.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem if we build to the plan. So,
Motion to approve the project with the standard order of conditions.
thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Michael, Carol, Denise,
Yeah.
Alyssa,
Yeah.
Kwame, Sandy, done, closed, approved.
Thank you,
CJ.
Madam Chair. Thank you, Commission members.
Thank you. Next one, the town of Wareham Heinz Field has asked for a continuance. They didn't give a date, but I'm going to give them until 3/2.
Motion to continue to March 2nd.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for continuance. All in favor? Ron,
Yes.
Michael, Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yeah.
Kwame, Sandy,
Yes.
we're continued. The next one is RESI Robinwood Road. Is there anybody here for that project?
Yes, Madam Chair, Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering.
Okay, Bob. Find my paperwork. Okay. Mr. Bichette?
All right, let me just get this plan straight here.
I know Mr. Bessie had given me some pictures of this big puddle of water that seems to accumulate there. And I was there recently with a rainstorm and the puddle was quite reduced. So whatever you had done in the ground to, there was a word you used,
Wick.
wicked it, seemed to have made a difference.
Thank you.
Okay. Why did we continue it last time?
Madam Chair, you asked for two pieces of information, which I think David is trying to bring up on the screen, but you had asked us to provide a map for the sewer route, which is going to be a directional drilling force main,
Yep.
2 inches. And so we provided the sewer route map to the commission. And you had asked for a depiction of a 50-foot no activity zone.
That's what
based-
it was.
Correct.
you.
Yeah, based on being 4 or more residential units. And so we added that depiction onto the erosion and sedimentation control plan and provided that as a separate plan. So it looks like Dave's brought up the subdivision plan set and not the separate one. So that's the original submittal with the 30-foot no activity zone. And-
Yeah, let me try to retrieve that one while we're discussing this, but
Sure.
hold on.
Yeah, because
Yeah, so, basically what we showed was that none of the subdivision construction, the roadway construction, none of the grading, drainage, utilities, it's all outside of, well outside of the 50-foot no activity zone.
so
And so in
you're
a
right.
future notice
All
of
we
intent-
wanted was the 50-foot zone and the 2 wetlands that are on the edge of the project. Okay, that's right.
So, yeah, so when we come back for lots 48 and 52, we'll address that certainly with the individual notice of intents for the
Yep,
lots.
but at least they will be on the plan.
Yes, that's correct. So after tonight's discussion, I will be requesting a continuance to March 2nd because we are going to change the name of the street. And we have a couple of very minor notations to make on the plans for the planning board. We had another very positive public hearing with the planning board on Monday night. And I just want to make sure that the planning board and the Conservation Commission are approving the same set of plans with the same final revision date.
Oh, what a concept.
It sometimes escapes me, but in this case, I think we can manage it.
All right, if you want, Sandy, I'll just brief it. So the project site is at 36, 42, and 48 Robinwood Road. The project involves the construction of a subdivision roadway within a coastal flood zone. 650-foot subdivision roadway with associated stormwater structures and utilities is proposed within flood zones AE elevation 16 and VE elevation 18. The proposed roadway would have stormwater swales built along the roadway to handle runoff from the new road. And these would extend around the proposed cul-de-sac as well. So again, at the last meeting, the commission continued the hearing to get some additional information. We did get some revised plans, which I'm having trouble retrieving, but I did get them. And while the discussion's going on, I'm going to see if I can access that and pull those up.
Dave, I don't think we need to if it just has the 50-foot line on it.
Even if you just review the original plan with the 30-foot, you can certainly envision 20 feet further and see that there's no work in those areas.
But we're going to get a new plan for March 2nd, right?
Yes, you will. I think if not at the end of this week, we're just waiting for the final approval of the street name. We know the other two minor items, and so it'll either be the end of this week or probably Monday that we would resubmit to Conservation and the Planning Board. And so we're set up with planning on the 28th, and we would have you on March 2nd.
So what's the new street name?
So I believe it's going to be called Haven Row, but I'm just waiting for a confirmation of that.
Just too many Maritimes in town.
Yeah, we submitted for Pleasant Harbor Drive, but there's a Pleasant Street and a Pleasant Avenue.
Yep.
So I think
emergency services do not like too many streets with the same name.
Yeah, correct. It's an important thing for emergency services.
Okay.
So I just wanted to further comment that this project does not propose any construction on any individual house lots created as part of the subdivision. Those lots would have to come back for individual notice of intents to construct houses on those particular lots. And at that time, the 50-foot no activity zone would be held for those lots, or at least that would be what I would be recommending to the commission to adhere to.
Okay.
The proposed stormwater structures for this site have been reviewed by the town's consulting engineer, and he has stated that he believes the project is constructed in accordance with the stormwater requirements. We do have a DEP file number for this project. So at this point, obviously, the applicant's requesting a continuance, but if there's any further discussion, then obviously we can go over that at this time.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Ron?
No questions.
Michael?
No questions,
Carol.
thank you.
No questions.
Denise?
No questions.
Alyssa?
No question.
Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Sandy? I have no questions. Is there anybody on the line that would like to comment on this project? Hearing nothing? We
Move
have
to
a
close the
request.
hearing.
Nope, continue until
Oh,
March.
continue, I'm sorry. I'm getting mixed up. Move to continue to March 2nd.
Second.
I have a motion and second to continue. Ron?
Yes.
Michael? Carol?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Alyssa? Kwame? Sandy?
Yes.
We're continued until March 2nd. The next
Thank
one
you.
is, thank you. The next one is Paul and Andre
Romanus.
Ramos?
Romanus.
Okay. Romanis, okay. Romanis. Is there anybody here to speak to this particular project?
Yes, Madam Chair, Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering.
Thank you, Bob, and since you probably because you know how to pronounce their last name.
I hope
All
I'm
right.
right.
All right. Oh, I think we were waiting for a DEP file last time.
Yes, that's correct. And I
Okay.
had, in error, I had said that the stairs that were to be constructed were replacement stairs. And I think some of the commissioners, wanted to go out to the site and take a look at it. I did speak with David earlier today about it. And so I guess I would let David, update his report to the commission.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bichette, your turn.
Okay, let me just get this plan pulled up here. Okay, so the project site is at 82 Pinehurst Drive, and the project involves the reconstruction of a section of seawall at this location, which is along a coastal bank and a coastal flood zone. So as you can see on the plan, a portion of the wall is to be removed and replaced in the same general footprint. And there was a question last time about a stairway that was to be replaced, but as we've just heard, there was not per se a stairway, but they're proposing to construct one and recess it back into the site as shown. So as long as that's done and not extending out into the beach or the waterway, then I would say that would be acceptable and consistent with other sites that the commission has approved such stairways into. My only question on this is, it's hard to see from this particular plan, but does that wall on the neighboring property continue sort of at the end of where this horseshoe is right here?
I think the adjacent wall is closer to the property line where I see the note, secure new wall to existing adjacent wall, see detail at the right. I think there's an 8-foot dimension. And so I believe that dark line, it's hard for me to point, but yep. So I think it's those two dark lines basically at the corner of the new stairs, right up against the
So I
property
think this is what's a little confusing here. So are you saying there's going to be like a new wing wall proposed just out into the water that currently wasn't?
No, not at all, Dave. I'm guessing that there's just a jog there, and that's where we're putting the stairs. So I think the wall is where we see that spot grade of it's 8 something, and then it drops down to 0.9. So that's the existing wall. And so there must be a return right where we're constructing the stairs. Because it would make no sense for there to be, 8 feet of a gap of beach between the two walls. So I believe that I'm correct in saying that that edge of the new stairs is a portion of existing wall that ties into the neighbor's wall. So you see those two spot grades. Maybe it's a 6 point something, and it drops down to 0.9. That's where the neighbor's existing wall is. Yep. It may have been a little clearer had we done a plan with the two views, the straight existing conditions view and the proposed, but I think the northern edge of the stairs is a portion of existing retaining wall.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm getting at is I don't want to see new structure built out into the beach in any way. If it's a replacement of existing, that's fine, but for me, seeing this plan and seeing the site, it just seems a little oddball to me how it's depicted.
Yeah, but so clearly we're on the upland side of the wall with the stairs, and so it's going to be lawn area that's going to become the stairs that lead down to the beach.
So what's in this zone right here, I guess is my question, because it almost looks like if this is the neighbor's wall,
Right, and it's beach
then
toward the
then-
Wareham
then-
River.
then this would be sort of a freestanding wall sticking out into the water.
No, that exists now.
Well, it's just a wall now, and we would be creating the stairs. And so it does interface with mean high water, and so we certainly need to get a Chapter 91 permit before we can do the work.
So the stairs are
didn't-
going to be built with
in lawn
one
area,
of the,
and
with one of the sides already existing as a existing seawall.
correct, but it needs to be reconstructed new,
Yeah,
just
but-
like the
but-
rest of the
but it's-
30-foot section of wall. Yep,
But it's there now.
correct.
Okay. So the only
would've
new
been-
interface with the sea, with the water would be a set of steps as opposed to a solid seawall.
Yes, yep, the wall for
Okay.
the steps would essentially be no change from the wall that's there now.
There'll be steps instead of, okay, sorry, I went out of turn.
No,
Mrs.
no.
Bichette, sorry.
The chair is
Anything
never out of turn.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, nice.
Um,
Bob.
No,
I've been
that's
the chair a
okay.
couple
So,
times.
so we did get comments from the Division of Marine Fisheries on this project as well. They had some standard comments about trying to maintain construction from the upland side. And also stating that the replacement of the revetment should be within the same footprint as we've just kind of discussed, and that there shouldn't be any extension out into the tidal waters. So we do have a DEP file number for this project at this point. So it's at a stage where if there's no further questions, the commission can issue an order of conditions with the standard conditions and the conditions that we mentioned about no expansion further out into the waterway, and that the stairs would recess back into the site.
Dave, what is the real address of this project? Is it 81 or is it 82?
It's 82 as it's been presented to me in the application.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, I believe they also own the home at 81, but this is 82.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, that would make sense. So this is the house that had the little white, the fence going around it.
Yes, the little white fence.
Little white fence versus the one that was next door that actually already had stairs.
Correct. It's the lot to the south that has the stairs, and that caused me to make the mistake when I reviewed the pictures from the survey file.
Well, it was really confusing because nobody has house numbers out there. It's just mailboxes.
And they can be on either side of the street.
Right.
Yeah, my phone map basically told me to stop at the right spot, but
You were lucky.
Yeah, you were.
Oh, I had no problem finding it. I went to, worked with somebody who had that house for years, so I was over there quite frequently. So I found it. Okay, questions on the board. Ron,
No questions.
Michael,
Questions?
Carol,
No questions.
Alyssa,
No questions.
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Sandy, I have no questions. So if nothing else, we're ready for a,
is anyone from the public?
oh yeah. Is there anybody here who'd like to comment on this project? Oh,
I move we close the hearing.
A motion to continue the hearing.
Continue. Oh, we're continuing?
why are we continuing?
No,
We would,
we're
nope, I think
closing.
we're ready.
No,
We're
okay, sorry.
closing.
sorry. Nope, that's me. I'm thinking of another project. Sorry.
Okay,
Second,
I have a motion to close the hearing. I have a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yeah.
Kwame, Sandy. Yes, the hearing is closed.
Thank you so much.
Okay, but now we have to vote on it.
okay.
I don't want to.
Okay, someone,
We could deny it there, Rob. Careful.
Getting ahead of myself, yes.
So we move to accept the project of the seawall as long as it includes the recessed stairs and no extension into tidal water.
and standard
condition.
order of
Did I say- I
conditions.
thought I
You
said
got
that.
it. We have
Second.
them all. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Carol, Denise,
Yes.
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Sandy. Done.
Thank you again.
And Sandy, it's not fair to make fun of the people who have to rely on Google Maps.
Thank you, Denise.
That house is probably the smallest house I've ever seen.
It is narrow.
Yes. Yes, okay. The bedroom was a loft. All right, we have the next hearing is Warren QOZB. Is there anybody here representing this project?
Bill Madden, GAF Engineering on behalf of Danny Warren.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Bichette,
Okay, let
turn.
me just get this plan set up here.
did you bring me dinner?
No. I didn't have much of mine. You want a piece of broccoli?
Broccoli? Sorry, Alan brought dinner home for himself.
Ah,
And he's
not
willing to
nice.
share the broccoli, but it's green vegetables, and anybody knows me, I do not eat green
It's from my
vegetables.
Wareham Community Associates meeting. Yeah.
I haven't muted.
I'll
Okay,
take
sorry.
that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so this project site is at 59 Main Street, and this project involves the construction of a restaurant and other buildings, parking lots, utilities, and associated site work within the riverfront area and within a coastal flood zone. A 65 by 100-foot restaurant with attached 25 by 65-foot deck is proposed, approximately 30 feet from the edge of the bulkhead along the Wareham River and within flood zone AE elevation 16. Also proposed within these areas is a 26 by 60-foot pavilion on a concrete slab and another 1,200 square foot building, a 46 space parking lot, and other utility and landscape features. Again, this is the same site we looked at earlier where we reviewed the proposed reconfiguration of the docks, which is represented on this revised plan that we have. Also proposed is underground stormwater structures to handle runoff from the site. These would take water from the site and direct them to two subsurface infiltration structures to infiltrate stormwater into the ground. And they do have some overflows that water could discharge from if they filled up to capacity. The project has been reviewed by the town's consulting engineer. He's provided some comments back on the project. I believe there is a further plan revision that he's received recently and is going to review. But I think generally in terms of the stormwater system, he seems to be comfortable with what's being proposed as far as that goes. The engineer could probably speak to whatever remaining changes there may be or what's being reviewed further. We do have a DEP file number for this project, so I'd have the engineer speak to the changes and then commission's questions and go from there.
hey, Bill,
Oh.
please.
Okay, yeah, Dave's pretty good summary on that. You know, the issue really at hand is we're scheduled to be before the planning board on the 28th. They're at least gave us all indications that they're willing to approved the plan at that meeting. And, you know, we have the Conservation Commission hearing tonight. I know that the commission typically likes to see a clean letter from Charlie Rowley on his review for the planning board. In this particular instance, you know, he did provide a review previously that spoke directly to the stormwater management system, and he had no issue with that. Since that time, our modifications to the plan really consisted on that northerly-most driveway entrance. One of the planning board wanted us to increase that to 24 feet as opposed to the 20 feet that we had. And I think that was really about the remaining plan change that is reflected on this plan set. I think it's dated January 18th. And this is the final plan set that we've submitted to the planning board as well. So similar to what Bob was telling you before, we all want to be on the same page with the plan dates and the revisions. We're not expecting to revise anything. There's no further requirements from the planning board. You know, I was hopeful that perhaps we could get a closed hearing tonight and in an order of conditions where Charlie has commented that he had no issue with stormwater management, in recognizing Concom typically is interested in what Charlie has to say on stormwater. So I think that's really, you know, the thing that we'd love to see, if we could get this closed and order issued on the project so that we could wrap things up on the 28th with the planning board. So like I said, the major change on this plan was that driveway entrance. If you review the letter that Charlie wrote and how we replied, you know, it was the driveway, it was a utility pole, guy wire out on Main Street. There was a dumpster location. We have the dumpster shown. We eliminated one of the three that we had there. There's two, same location that we had originally proposed. There's a lighting plan that's separate and was provided. I mean, the light poles are in the same location on the plan as they have always been. And we just changed the head of the fixture so that it was, you know, clearly dark sky compliant, no overflow, no spillover into the public way. Everything was shielded as it needed to be. And that was really it. It's not really a conservation issue, although we can't overlook the fact that it is in a coastal flood zone and it does have conservation jurisdiction. Then he had a few little construction recommendations that that no one has any issue with. So, you know, what you see right now is reflective of the final plan. And I think as far as Concom has typically been concerned, the drainage was acknowledged to be okay by Charlie in his letter of whatever it was, the 16th or so of January. So that's pretty much where we are with it. You know, the project has scoped down a little bit. The pavilion is a little smaller than that 30 or 25 by 60 building. The small retail building to the left is 1,200 feet. That hasn't changed. And the restaurant footprint is identical to what it has been. So that's pretty much the long and the short of things right now with the project.
Thank you. Questions on the board, Ron?
No questions.
Michael? Carol?
Yeah, just one question. I'm not sure if it's necessarily environmental, but I'm just curious anyway. The in the parking lot directly across from where the big plaza is, you have 3 handicap spots. Then there's like a little oval with a square with it looks like there's a T in it. What exactly is that? Is that like wiring or?
No, that's the electric transformer for the building. The primary service from the overhead wires will come to that transformer, and then the secondaries will be run into the building to provide electric power for the building and what have you. I think they're looking at a 600 amp service inside that building.
Gotcha. Okay,
And
thank you.
similarly, we have a transformer at the little building as well, far down on the north end of the site.
Yeah, I noticed there was another one down at the other corner of the parking
Yeah.
lot. So, Gotcha. So it's basically for that as well. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
No. you're
Carol,
welcome.
Carol, any questions?
No questions.
Denise?
I just want to make the group acknowledge that the wind is picking up down here and my internet is going in and out.
I'm having the same issue here.
Yeah, but it's picking up like crazy. I know we had also discussed, Bill, keeping the plantings down there to a low maintenance. Please keep that in mind when you're deciding what to put out there.
Yeah, I may be mistaken, but I thought that was predominantly on the Heinz Field thing where this is privately owned, privately maintained, everything will be.
We don't have to worry about you guys looking to the garden club or anything. for
Correct,
this.
exactly. We'd love to have you participate over here, but.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, okay.
You're on your own.
Spoken by someone who doesn't belong to the garden club yet.
Somebody in the other room, I could
Hey,
call over here if you want.
I sent my stuff in today to join.
Good
Oh,
girl.
thank you. Thank you. Okay. Alyssa,
Just to follow up on Denise's, and that is, this is privately owned, but if natural, in plants that grow in our area, if they could be included, it would make it a really nice effort.
okay. Kwame,
Okay.
No, I was just gonna say, it looks like a nice system in place with the water infiltration, and look forward to seeing something being made out of this.
thank you. I did a research in every one of the plants. They are native. They're not invasive. And so I'm very comfortable with plantings that are being planted. Now, I do want to put a stipulation that no snow pile will be stored on site and allowed to melt. And whatever treatment is done on the parking lot, not be salt or whatever the material is that's good for handling ice, but will not be salt that will drain into the river. Help me here.
Oh, no, I mean, I think that straight salt is the way to handle it myself. I mean, only because, the sand salt mixture makes a big mess. And we have a restaurant in this place. We have buildings that are going to be occupied by people. They just track things in. But as far as snow removal goes, we anticipate that snow removal would have to be taken care of by private contractor, removed from the site. So we understand and we agree with that. Your
So the
position on that.
addition to the order of conditions will be no snow will be piled on the site and will be removed. Okay.
That's good.
Anybody else? Is there anybody on the line that would like to comment to this project?
Get it done.
Make a move.
Nobody?
Move to close the hearing.
I have a motion to close the hearing and I have a second. All in favor. Ron? Michael? Carol?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
Kwame?
Yes.
Sandy, the hearing is closed.
In terms of, the order of conditions, if the commission's going to vote to grant that, the other things that I would recommend adding is that the stormwater structures have to be maintained in accordance with the stormwater management plan that was submitted as part of the notice of intent. And that there be some periodic accounting for cleaning up of windblown trash and whatnot that might accumulate on the site, along with the other conditions that the commission mentioned about the snow removal.
Okay, so that's 3 conditions. All right, who wants to take the standard order of conditions plus?
Plus, that the stormwater structures will be maintained, that there'll be no pileup of snow, and the snow that is plowed will be removed from the site, and that there'll be a periodic accounting for cleaning up our stormwater.
Trash.
In trash room, okay.
Trash room.
That is our motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor. Ron?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
Kwame? Sandy? Yes. Okay, Danny, you got it.
Hey, thanks a lot for
Thank you,
the
Bill.
consideration here. It's really a big help and it'll help expedite things. And we're all very grateful for the fine job
remember,
you did on the project.
Bill, no work is started until you get the paperwork from Mr. Bichette, but there you go.
All right. Once again, thanks so much. Much appreciated.
All right, next is the First Hartford Realty Corporation, i.e. the car wash.
All right, give me a second to pull this plan up here.
Oh, we were given a lot of documents to read for this one.
I don't have that on my agenda.
Yes, you do. First
Yeah.
Hartford Realty Corporation.
Third from the bottom.
It should be
No,
31.
Oh, all right, I see, it. I found it. Yep,
3013 Cranberry Highway.
yep,
Right.
okay, we're out of order, that's all.
It doesn't
No, we're
say,
not.
it doesn't say car wash.
I
Holly.
thought it was one of the.
No, it
continuing-
doesn't
I got-
say car wash. It says First Hartford Realty Corporation,
I've got
i.e. car wash.
It's the 16th item.
Yep, I've got it. I
Okay.
found it.
Okie dokie. All right, is there anybody here representing this project?
Yes, hi, good evening. This is Curtis Quitzel with VHB.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bichette. Your turn.
Okay. Okay, so this project site is at 3013 Cranberry Highway. And the project involves the construction of a commercial car wash facility partially in the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland and within a coastal flood zone. So as far as the site goes, there's approximately 1,500 square feet of this site that is within the buffer zone to wetlands that exist along Dick's Pond on the other side of Cranberry Highway from the subject property, and also within flood zone AE elevation 14. The project proposes stormwater structures to handle runoff from the site in terms of stormwater. And they have a separate system that's designed to handle water from the car wash itself, a certain amount of that which would be proposed to discharge into the town sewer system. So at the last meeting, this hearing was continued to go over some of these stormwater issues and for the DEP file number, which we have now. So as far as the stormwater system goes, that has been reviewed by the town's consulting engineer. And he did recommend that it met standards for the site. We did get some additional information submitted by an attorney representing an opponent to the property with a letter from their consulting engineer who had some questions about the stormwater structures. And then we subsequently also received a response letter from the applicant about that. As Sandy mentioned, there were several pieces of information about this particular site. So one of the things that was raised was about the potential to stay this project that the commission is reviewing pending an appeal to the zoning board decision. I would say this review that we're doing is independent of that and should not really be held up because of that. That would be a separate process that has to run its own course. If the commission wants to discuss questions relative to the stormwater or any other things that want to be discussed, then we can do that at this time. But if everybody's in accordance with the project in terms of the stormwater issue being acceptable, then I would recommend the issuance of the order of conditions to approve the project.
Madam Chair, you're on mute.
Thank you. Alan was searching for a candy bar and making a lot of noise.
She ate them all.
So Curtis, is there anything you want to add, please?
You tell them you ate them all.
I think the only thing I would add, Madam Chair, is that, again, the responses to the independent peer reviews comments from the group who opposed the project were reviewed by the town's peer review consultant, Mr. Rowley, and the project was approved. He recommended approving it.
Okay, thank you. Questions on the board, Ron? Michael,
No questions.
Carol,
No, no questions.
we may have lost Michael.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I thought Ron cut me off. Go ahead.
Right, Carol, no questions. Denise,
No questions.
Alyssa,
No questions.
Kwame,
No questions.
Sandy, I have no questions. Is there anybody on the call that would like to comment on this project, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Steve McDonald. We are in opposition to this. My attorney couldn't be here today, so I am sitting in on her behalf to express our opposition. And I guess I'll just say two quick things, which is that this would seem to be out of order considering it is in Superior Court and appeal, and that it would be hard to believe that this would be an effective and useful time for this board and for this group, considering that the project is an appeal and it would be out of order. Additionally, there has been a filing. This is across from Dick's Pond. Dick's Pond is a known contributor to the herring run. And there are many videos that have been taken that can be shared at a date that shows this has been an excessive flooding area. And I think that's well known. A matter of fact, the zoning board made comment to the fact that it was a bit of a joke because it was the best undercarriage car wash in the community when it rains at times. So I think everybody's well aware of that. And the mitigation here is as suggested by peer review, not quite adequate.
Thank you. And I know that the issue with flooding that area has been addressed by the state as it is redoing all the Route 6 and 28. So if you notice, the flooding has nowhere near been as severe as it used to be because of the new retention ponds. Retention areas have been added between the highway and.
Sleeping early?
Okie dokie. So
You gotta go to sleep where you were.
is there anybody else that would like to comment on this project?
The only other thing I'd like to add, Madam Chair,
Yes.
is that while that has been done, in a most recent storm, there was about 1.5 feet or 2 feet of rainwater that had contained itself within that lot that doesn't drain well. And it's certainly something to be considered.
Okay, thank you. I believe the state is aware of it and is addressing that issue. So says Alan, who is in touch with the state. Okay, anybody else that want to comment from the public?
Real briefly, Madam Chair, my name is Doug Troyer. I represent the applicant. I actually was permitting counsel for the applicant before the Zoning Board of Appeals. I did just want to mention that Mr. McDonald, through his counsel, has filed a appeal the Zoning Board's site plan and special permit approval. That is before the Superior Court. We have filed a motion to dismiss primarily based on the fact that Mr. McDonald and his companies lack standing, as they have no particular or specialized harm in order to be opposing this. It's our belief that his company is a competing car wash. They have, through council, participated at numerous meetings before the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the information which has been provided to this board was provided to the Zoning Board of Appeals, was fully vetted by the board, as well as Mr. Rowley, who in essence, we went back and forth and made certain adjustments and mitigation to our plans. And we ultimately, similar to the project before got a clean bill of health from Mr. Rowley on this project. We believe it's been fully vetted, and we don't believe that this process should be held up simply because there is an appeal by a competitor. I thank you for your time and willing to answer any further questions.
And Mr. Bichette has indicated that we are independent of the zoning, and we will address our conservation concerns and this project independent of what has gone forward in zoning.
Okay, I have a question. Could Doug please spell his last name?
Absolutely. It's Doug Troyer, Troyer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to comment on this project before we close the hearing? Okay,
Move
nobody
to
else.
close the hearing.
I have the motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, Ron, Michael, Carol, Denise,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Sandy. Yes. Did I hear Michael say yes or no?
You hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
I said yes too.
Okay, thanks. I was going quickly and I just want to make sure I heard 7 yeses.
I was muted.
Okay. The hearing is closed. What is the commission's wish?
I guess we move to accept the project with, is it standard order of conditions?
Yes.
And I don't think there were any other conditions added, were there?
The only added condition would be, again, to add a condition to state that the stormwater structures have to be maintained in accordance with the stormwater maintenance and operation plan that was submitted as part of the application.
All right, so stated then.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Sandy. Yes, done. We have completed this and have approved it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Evening. We have a continued hearing at David Andre for 69 Great Nick Road, wants to continue.
Move to continue David Andres.
3-2, March 2nd.
Second.
All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy, it's continued. Wareham PV1, request a continuance until 3-2.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor,
Yes.
Ron, Michael,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy.
Yes.
Yes, it's continued. Levy and Long request at 80 Mayflower Ridge Road has requested a continuance until 3-2.
No, 316, I believe.
Yeah, they want 316.
Oh, sorry. Oh, so it says 316. I didn't read their little email. I was just right, every 3-2 right along. They have the Board of Health, right? Anyway, okay, so we have a motion to continue in 316.
Yes.
So
Second.
moved.
And I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Michael, Carol, Denise,
Yes.
Yes.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy,
Yes.
we're continuing into 316. Mr. Bichette, you forgot the railroad. Tech Associates was supposed to be continued in 2-6 and it wasn't on the list. Can we continue them until, I can't, can we?
Yeah, I
include
would
them on
say
3-2?
that we can put them back on the agenda once they get back to me and give me a sense of when they'll be wanting to be on the agenda, because right
Okay,
now I
so
haven't
that's why,
heard.
okay, that's why it wasn't on the agenda. Okay,
Right.
all right. Now we are down to enforcement orders, good old Swiss Beach area.
Yeah, so there was a violation over at 13 Murphy Street in the Swift's Beach area. This is way down the far end, at the end of One King Court Drive in Murphy Street. This is a new house. It's currently under construction. It's on stilts because it's in a velocity zone. So the owner was contacted with an enforcement order because there was some tree cutting work that was done outside the limit of work at this site, again, which is in the velocity zone and also in the buffer zone to Coastal Beach and Salt Marsh. So this site did have an order of conditions with a limit of work. And I had gone down there because I had gotten a call about some tree cutting work. And when I went to the site, there definitely was a number of trees that were cut down outside the limit of work at this site. I had been to this site maybe a couple of weeks prior, and I did see that there had been a big oak tree that had been blown down. But that was the only tree that I really took notice of in terms of storm damage. When I went back there a couple of weeks later, there was quite a bit of a larger number of trees that were taken out. Several good sized diameter trees, and pretty much anything of a sizable tree has been removed within that zone between the house and the water, sort of within what I would consider the view shed of the house. So that's why the enforcement order was issued. And again, the applicant did contact me and we spoke about the issue. He claims there was some storm damage there. I asked if he had any photos of that, and he did not. He discussed that he had a tree cutter come in to take out the damaged tree. And he indicated to me that he had stated to the tree cutter to take out any trees that they felt would be a hazard. So obviously there was a lot of gray there, which led to, in my opinion, more trees coming out than should have. And regardless of any of that, that all should have been brought to the commission's attention before just going in and doing it without us knowing to what extent work was being done. So that's really the main issue here, is that this was done without consulting the commission as far as what may or may not be okay to do. So that's the issue. I see the property owners here, and so he can comment further and explain the actions at that site.
Okay. Any idea who the tree cutting service was?
No. Madam Chair, is it my turn to speak?
Yes, it is.
This is Scott Denton, 13 Murphy Street. And I apologize, but the internet connection is a little shaky. Hopefully it comes through. David has my cell phone number if a call needs to be placed. As mentioned, our property sustained significant damage from the big storm in Wareham last fall. We felt as though the damage presented both a liability and a hazard. And I just fell off the call. Does anybody hear me?
We can still hear you.
That's good. We no longer spend the winters in Wareham, and we happened to be heading out of the country at that time. There were several trees down. I'm not sure when Dave came to the property, but we saw several trees, large trees that were in various conditions. Some had completely fallen. Some were snapped at about halfway up. Others were tipped over, at least exposing the root ball. We felt as though that presented a hazard and a possible liability. Not sure how familiar the committee is with that area, but we do get a lot of foot traffic, quite frankly, more than I think that we will get in the future, but we're still getting some. We have a construction project underway, as David mentioned, and so we needed to keep it moving. As I mentioned, we were getting set to leave the country. I placed a few phone calls, ended up seeing a number of tree service people in the Swifts Beach, Hamilton Beach area conducting work, asked one of the gents to come by and view the damage. Asked him if he could get to us fairly quickly. I was told no, that he was backed up with removing trees from the area. I asked him if I paid him cash, would I get moved up because I was leaving the country in a few days. He agreed to take a cash payment, which I paid him. When I came back, the trees and well, the instructions I gave him, I think Dave gave a good analysis of what I said, which was, please remove anything that you deem to be hazardous or presents a possible liability moving forward. That was the instructions I gave him. When I came back, the land is as it is.
Okay, thank you. So I guess the question is,
So how many trees were removed?
yeah, Scott, any idea how many were taken down by this company?
I honestly don't have a complete count, but I would say if I had to estimate, I would say somewhere in the 7 to 12 range. I
Oh,
think
wow.
trees, I don't think that there were that many that I counted originally. I think it was in that neighborhood, but it wasn't as many as appear to be down. I assume, I'm not a tree removal person, but I assume some trees came down when he went in to do his work. I know that trees were leaning on other trees, so I'm assuming that maybe he deemed those to be hazardous. But again, it's an assumption on my part.
Who was the tree service?
I apologize, but I don't remember the name of the company.
So you hired a company and you paid a company, but you don't remember who it was.
That's correct.
I find that hard to believe.
Well,
What I would say to any members who haven't been to the site, that, you probably should go give it a look. Certainly, regardless of how many trees were taken or why, there should have been communication with the commission prior to this level of work taking place. So that, to me, is the problem. I do think trees were taken down that probably shouldn't have been, based on what this tree cutter perceived. So that's what I would suggest at this point, and then maybe discuss this at the next meeting once people have had a chance to visualize it for themselves.
I agree with that.
Can we move to continue? Is that
Well-
really-
Well, we're gonna
Okay.
ratify the enforcement order.
no, I think ratified it last meeting, didn't we?
Can I
No,
interject?
this,
No.
I'm not sure if we did, but if not, we should do that.
I don't think we did.
No.
Okay.
Madam Chair, can I add
Yes.
something to Dave's comment?
Yes. Yep.
I would just add that I have no dispute with David that I should have come to the board. I have a history with this board where I have come to you and asked permission. I did not know that that was required. As I mentioned, there were several tree removal companies scattered around the entire neighborhood. I thought that the storm and the hazard was what gave me the opportunity, right, whatever you'd say, to do that. I now know, because I've talked to Dave live, that that isn't the case. And I've agreed that going forward, under no circumstance would I touch anything there without coming to him directly and saying, going forward, I did not mean, and obviously have no disrespect or disregard for this board. We have a history, my wife and I, of coming to this board and requesting things when I thought that that's what I was supposed to do. I now have learned that that's what I was supposed to do, but clearly that wasn't how I felt. I had a sense of urgency because of the hazard, and I had a sense of urgency because I was leaving the country. And I did not mean any disrespect to this board whatsoever, and I do not dispute at all in a go-forward position that I should come before this board if anything was going to be done. So my apologies for
But
what.
this work probably would not even have been approved.
How close is it to an area? I mean, if the trees are dead, that's another thing entirely. Or
If
if
you
it's
go- you have to go
blocking
down,
the road.
you have to go down and see it.
I
They're
do.
building new homes down. It's at the end. I can show you where it is.
Sure,
Let's see.
I'd like to go and see it.
You now have a very nice view without the trees there.
Well, that's true. Perhaps that is where the trees came down, but it is also where it's at the point. So when you come down and you look, you will see that that's exposed to the weather. This was a very unique and severe weather event. As you may recall, or don't know, I don't know, at that time, Swift's Beach was closed for a few days. That whole Swift's Beach Road was closed for several hours into I think the next day. We were rerouted for the days we were still home before we left the country. We were rerouted almost into the Hamilton Beach area, detours in order to get to the property. So
That was because there was at one of the corners, but at Swift's.
Yeah.
Up at the top is where some trees came down on.
Scott, two of the people on this board live in the Swiss Beach area, so they're well aware of the damage that was done down there with the trees falling on the roads.
Okay. Right.
Can we say that it's no more tree cutting or clearing until you
100%.
see Mr. Burchett? I believe we need a motion to ratify the order, the enforcement order, and a fine.
Motion to ratify the enforcement order.
Second.
Are you putting
Okay.
a fine with it, Ron?
Well,
Yeah, I would really love to know
The contractor was.
contractor
also.
was, because all the contractors around here know what they should and shouldn't be doing. But yeah, I mean, if Mr. Denton doesn't,
Are we limited to just one fine, or do you fine by tree or?
no, it's
it's just a singular fine.
One single
Yep.
fine. This is
Of
ridiculous.
the max fine is $300, and that's what it needs to be for Mr. Denton. And I'd really love to get the contractor, but if Mr. Denton doesn't have that information, what can we do with it? So
okay, so that's the motion to ratify the enforcement order and issue a $300 fine to the homeowner. All in
Second.
favor? Ron,
yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Denise,
Yeah.
Alyssa,
Yes.
Kwame, Sandy, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Scott, for coming forward and explaining the condition. Yes, it was a tough storm. Yep. Okay. Other business meetings, other businesses, meeting minutes. We all got the notice from Denise assigning us to various minutes. Well, Denise gave us a 16 or 17 page set of minutes for 9:15. And honestly, Denise, I did not review them. They were a little bit more than I was willing to sit through.
Well, you should have
I-
sat through the tape. It was a 3-hour conversation, a 3-hour meeting. So.
Yes, because when Alyssa did hers, it was a good, 2.5 hours?
It was
2
2.5
hours
hours.
and 54 minutes and 38 seconds.
3 hours, okay. And so Denise, I think I'm going to wait for a more concise, consolidated version before
But
I.
I'm waiting for, I want to add Dave's statement better than what I have in there. And I will take out some things, but I think most of it needs to be in there because that's one of the legal ones with the solar.
Okay, but some of them could be consolidated and not so much.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and
And
sometimes when you have a 3 or 4 hour meeting, there's no choice but to have long minutes. I mean, that's just the nature
Yeah.
of it, you know?
It took me hours and hours of listening and going back and listening and then trying to get
yes,
how to
I
spell
know.
people's names. It was
Yes,
crazy.
and Alyssa gave me a version of the July 7th meeting to look at, and I've given her some comments back for some corrections, but it's, on and on and.
Do you wish me to make the corrections and send them back to you? Is that what you're waiting for?
Yes, please, because to say we're continued into July 21st, 2020 doesn't quite do it. I mean, it's-
You start writing those up. You'll be flipping.
And you'll see. I
And to be
need to know
honest-
though, Sandy, for the 9/22 special meeting that we had, I need to know when it was opened, when it was closed, because there's no tape for that one, and who was
Okay,
in
wait.
attendance.
Wait 1 second. Let me see what I have on my notes. Now, I started to do my minutes on January 19th, 22. And WCTV had a problem and had not put the minutes up. I got a note today that it should be available tomorrow, so I can be working on mine. How about everybody else?
I haven't done mine yet, but I will get it done.
Okay,
Yeah,
Michael.
I'll get mine.
And-
I've
Okay.
been extremely
Karen,
busy the
Ron,
past week or two, but I'm working on it.
Okay,
Come to a decision that you could not pay me enough money to do that.
isn't that horrible?
Oh, it's a horrible job.
Oh, yeah.
So I cannot believe, but okay, well, at least we'll have somebody.
Can you
for next
imagine
year to
what
do
Kelly
it.
did for a long, long time?
Well,
How
I
Kelly
mean,
did this for
Yeah.
years.
some people like doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not me.
I would like to shoot myself instead of doing it.
Wow.
Kwame, what's with the mustache and the chin thing going on here? Huh?
I'm gonna just try to regrow all my hair. And it starts here. It's gonna go up here.
I don't know if it's getting up that far, Kwame. I don't know.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay, do you have that
I just live
information?
I just live in a real world, man. I mean, I'm getting there. You know, I'm starting to lose it.
Well, with 5 kids, you're gonna lose a lot more.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just going gray.
When those girls
it'll
hit
just be
teenage
great.
years, you're in trouble.
Listen, Denise. Listen, okay. I
Huh?
deal with enough Schultz on a Wednesday basis. Okay,
You do. You get Schultz's all over.
I do.
Same-
I'm a
Slow
Schultz
bylaws.
sandwich, you know. So would you like
I
me-
don't,
Did
I
you
don't
find
have
anything?
I don't have
Sandy,
any start end date,
Sandy,
sorry.
just one quick thing. I was just gonna say, I would like to recognize Nicole Curto, who's on the meeting.
Yeah,
She
I'm
spent
getting-
time on
I'm-
the meeting all night
I'm
here,
getting-
who's a potential
Introduce yourself,
applicant as
Nicole.
as an associate
was-
member.
I was getting there.
Oh, okay. You
Hopefully
said
we
you were
didn't-
done.
I was
Hopefully we
getting
didn't scare her away.
No, I
Okay,
wasn't
right.
sure if I was supposed to stay at the end, though. I was like, should I leave?
Yep,
or am I
we're still
supposed
in
to
our,
stay here?
We're
we're still in our
meeting.
meeting. All it was a better definition of the reasons why we denied the BERE
Right, but
LLC
you know what
project.
time we started?
Nope, doesn't, it just says, I would say at 6:30, which is what the
Okay.
scheduled time was. And I don't think
And-
we lasted much longer.
Was everybody there? That's my other question. I mean,
let
were
me
you guys
see,
all
wait a
at that special meeting?
I closed it. Wait a second.
Well, these guys
Um,
are here. They
sorry.
can tell me who wasn't
Kwame,
there.
Denise, sorry, not
Yes.
Kwame, Denise, Ron, Alyssa, Michael,
Oh,
Carol,
yeah.
Sandy, and David.
So we were all there.
1, 2,
Yeah.
3,
Yeah.
4, we were all there. Okay,
It was
Thank you.
It was a party.
it was a party.
That
Now,
was a party. Okay.
Was it a
So
3-hour party?
yeah, wait a second,
No,
folks.
it was about a half hour because we just.
Well,
yeah,
it
Oh,
really
that was the good one.
that
that
was a good one.
That's a minute.
Time out. Time out. We have an application here. We have, wait a minute, Nicole.
Yes,
Nicole, pronounce your last name for me.
Lacurdo.
Look, just like it reads. I went to Wareham High School, so I don't read well.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay,
Andy.
so,
Wow.
ask Nicole to, come to a couple of our meetings and answer any questions she might have. And then we can, at the next meeting, if she's still joining us, have her ask her some questions. But Nicole, you sat through this meeting. What do you think? Think you want to be part of it?
I do. I think I was a little lost for a lot of it because some of it doesn't quite make sense to me yet, but I was oddly very interested. There's
Yes.
just a lot of things that I didn't realize is such a big deal and that so many people have to approve it and vote on it, but I think it's great and I want to learn more, definitely.
Okay, yep, we have an opening for an associate member. An associate member attends the meetings and can comment and ask questions, but does not have the privilege to vote yet. so that associates can be on board for about 2 to 3 months, which means 4 to 6 meetings before, if there's an opening, can be moved up to a voting member. But feel free to ask any questions you have right now, and then we'll see you on March 2nd. The agenda. Sorry, ask your question.
Yeah, the only question I had was, so all of these hearings are for people who want to do something to their property that is going to affect the environment, and it has to do with zoning, correct?
Not quite.
Yes,
It's-
yes to the
sorry.
first part of your question and no to the second part. So
Yeah,
it doesn't
there you
really
go.
have to do with zoning. This has to do with projects meeting the standards of local and state wetlands laws, but it's not to do with zoning.
I think
So-
I said it wrong, but what I meant is like whatever areas like the flood zones and that sort of stuff, anything that impacts the environment, more on the environmental end, not quite zoning.
Not quite environmental, wetlands, water.
Okay.
So if it's going to be deep in the forest and doesn't impact any wetlands, we don't know about it. So
Okay,
it's
I gotcha.
along our freshwater, our marshes, our coastal, anything that has water.
So this means
affected.
that 13 Murphy, which Denise told me, I don't know where 13 Murphy is, but she said it's close to the water.
Oh, it's right on.
Oh,
the
it's
water.
way out
Okay.
on the,
It's right on the water, believe me.
it's exposed directly to Buzzards Bay. There's nothing between it and the Buzzards Bay, right down the mouth.
Well, there's nothing now because they took the trees down.
Well, that's, well,
But anyway, if you go online, you can find the wetland bylaws. That's a good place to start.
Okay.
You can look through those and start to read through those, because that's when I got on. I started reading those and trying to understand what we have rulings on and over.
Okay.
And now Denise is the pit bull of the commission.
I am a
Yes,
pit
he is.
bull.
He is the pit bull.
she's
I
put-
I am passionate. I am
I'm very
passionate.
passionate, and
You
you're very
are.
good at this. You're very good at
So
this.
Okay.
would you like an update on solar bylaw now?
Well,
Yeah.
that's part of
Oh,
our,
please, I've listened to that enough in my house.
Oh, come on.
Go ahead.
Listen,
Go ahead,
Denise.
Ron. I'm gonna go to the bathroom while you do that.
You're not gonna miss
Excuse
anything,
me.
right?
wait a minute, before you go, you have to, that Denise's husband's on the planning board, so she hears all of this more than once.
Yeah.
Oh,
she
that
did
makes sense.
A lot of time.
Also
Okay,
makes me
Ron,
very
solar
informed.
bylaw.
All right, so update on the solar bylaw. We are getting really close, really close. I think we are getting to the point of where we are going to present at the next planning board meeting to try to get them to sign off on what we're trying to do with the solar bylaw and basically get a letter supporting it. And then I'm not sure, I think we're going to cover this in the next meeting, if we're going to talk with the other boards in town to get letters of support, because I think it's going to be some of the stuff is going to be easy for the folks in town to approve, but I think there's a couple of points that might be, let me say, walking the line of what they might want and might not want. But I think we've spent, many hours and time to really dissect what we had and really researching some state things, some other towns. So I think we're at the point now where our next step is going to be to reach out to the Board of Selectmen to get on their agenda to present what we have to send to Springtown meeting. And if it's agreeable and supported by the Board of Selectmen, we'll hope that they'll put it on the warrant. So we're close. We've got a couple more meetings before all of that happens. We've got a couple more things to hash out, but I think that we're going to be successful in getting a new bylaw on the Springtown meeting.
Now, Ron, the articles are due March 1st for Springtown meeting.
Correct.
Okay, so that's still
So-
your target to have a March 1st article submitted?
Correct.
Yeah,
Wow.
Ron, I don't know if,
That's
oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
am-
I'm sorry.
that's ambitious. Sorry, what, Kwame?
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I don't know if Nico knows what the solar bylaw entails.
I don't.
So just to give you the quick 411, because we could talk for hours about solar. Obviously, a lot of what we're dealing with here in conservation has to do with a lot of solar projects. We're just one of multiple entities in town that have to approve a solar project to happen. But our bylaw isn't very pointed. It's really vague and open and leaves a lot to interpret. So the Board of Selectmen put together a solar bylaw study committee, which I was so graciously appointed to as a member of the Conservation Commission.
It's because you didn't show up in the meeting.
It's your own fault, Ron.
I know. So we've been tasked with trying to rewrite the bylaw to make solar don't want to say as accessible in town, but not able to just be put anywhere. And that's kind of what we're running into with all of these projects, all of these solar projects popping up is kind of, it can just be at this point kind of anywhere. It's been a lot of hours outside of, I missed a lot of the meetings from scheduling standpoint, but the rest of the committee has put in, I'd say hundreds of hours of time to really fine tune what we had, because it was a good basis point. But we've added a lot to it, which I think is going to be beneficial to the town. Not to say that we don't want solar, but making it so that it makes sense on where it goes, and not just saying, hey, we've got an open field over here, let's throw a 2 megawatt solar project over here just because we have the space to do it. So I think we've done a lot, and I really think that a good portion of the town will accept it. It's not going to be perfect, everything we do, none of it's perfect, but we just try to be as as fair on both sides of the fence as you can be. Just like with this commission, we try to be as fair as we can be, but still have to follow the laws that are in place. So that's kind of what the solar bylaw is doing, is it's going to point a path to where this town is going to go moving forward, so that we don't turn into solar central, which we kind of already are.
I was gonna say, we're already there.
Yeah, so we're trying to alleviate any more potential unnecessary solar. So by putting this new bylaw into place, we're hoping that it's gonna help.
So that part of it is that we recently approved a project that cleared hundreds of acres of woods for solar panels, which was very hard to do, but didn't have the bylaws to prevent it. So we're trying to say, where is the line between clearing a forest of trees that are good for the environment in order to make area for solar farms? So that's the line we're trying to form. Because right now we can't continue to clear hundreds of acres of trees.
No,
That's
I
it.
agree completely. That's definitely not what I want to see happen, so.
Yeah,
So
there's
Ron,
a lot
I
going
just-
on with solar projects, and it's overwhelming when you don't have any way to stop it legally. You have to follow the bylaws. So I need to refine them.
Okay, well, I think that is it.
Could I
folks.
just ask Ron one quick question relating to this?
Okay.
Well, two, I guess. One, is there a draft now of the proposed bylaw? And two, if so, what is the max amount of trees that might still be permittable to clear in this new bylaw?
So that's one of the tree clearing is one of the things that we're still kind of at a sticking point on, is trying to figure out what is a permittable amount and what type of mitigation would be necessary based on the amount of clearing that might have to happen. So that's kind of one of the things that we're really stuck on still. And, you know, we're, like I said, we're close, but, you know, we all have our own interpretation of how much tree is enough tree, and, you know, how much is too much. So it's one of those things where I'd love to give you the answer. There is a draft, a really good detailed draft. I'll talk with Carl, and maybe I can get a copy of that for everybody to kind of see kind of where we're at, and go from there. But we're really close, but I can't give you the answer on that because it hasn't been fully defined yet in.
Okay,
in bylaw.
that's fine. Just
And
wanted
Rod-
to ask that. Thank you.
And Rod, did you say you're going to be, you guys are gonna be meeting in front of the planning?
So
board?
it was discussed in our meeting today, because obviously, you know, Ken Buckland is part of this whole process too. But obviously we want to have the buy-in from all of the, you know, all of the committees and boards in town that this bylaw would directly affect in the decision making that, you know, planning board has to approve solar projects, conservation has to approve solar projects. You know, so it's been tough, but I think we're there. You know, we're at that, we can see the finish line. And I think the finished product will be suitable for, you know, all parties. You know, some people are still not going to be happy. That's just because of the nature of, that's what some people are, but
Sure,
we're
'cause-
really close.
Sure,
Make
'cause
everybody happy.
it'd be great if you could make everybody happy, obviously, listen, but you can't.
do it.
No, because I was just curious, because I was just curious if it was gonna be at the next meeting, which is, I believe is next week. So I was just curious, though.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it will be, it's supposed to be presented at the next meeting, as long as there's no additional hangups, which I think we ironed out a lot today.
Mhm.
You know, so I think another meeting and we'll hopefully be where we want to be. We don't want to not present anything. You know, we talked about it, but I think we wouldn't be doing a service for the town if we didn't get it to, because at the end of the day, we're going to present it. It's going to have to be voted on and approved by, you know, the voters of the town anyway. So, you know, we're going to do our part to get it there and hope that
You know-
we get support from the voters of the town.
There is no selectmen's meeting before March 1st when these articles are due. They've
Well,
already
then-
posted the agenda for the 22nd, so I have no idea how you're gonna,
So
are you presenting an article or presenting a report at Springtown meeting?
it's supposed to be an article. We're supposed to get
Wow.
something from Warrant. So I'll have
That's
to,
insane.
I'll have to get with Nancy. And I know she said she was gonna send an email to the Board of Selectmen. Whether she's done that or not.
Okay.
yet.
Just a heads up, I'm trying to write 5 articles for conservation, for CPC, and I'm, you know, looking at a short deadline too. So that type of, I know how March 1st comes up very quickly. If there's nothing else, make sure you come into the office and sign the paperwork from this week and last meeting. There's going to be a lot. See, we closed all these.
I
Yay.
know, we did
Oh, yay,
this week.
finally.
Tell
So
me
we
you'll be
only
there
have-
next time.
We
I'll have
only-
all the documents by 9:30 for those who want to come in and sign.
All right,
We
I'll
only
be in
have,
early.
what,
I
we have
will,
10 continued hearings for next meeting. Yay.
We're
as
making
opposed to-
progress.
I will swing by after,
Cheerleading.
no, yeah, cheerleading, no. After jury duty, I will swing by.
Very good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, everybody. Long meeting. What are we at? What time? 9:49.
Fine.
Earlier
All
than the
right.
last 2 weeks.
Move to close the meeting. What do we do?
Second,
We have I have a motion to close and you can just say all aye at the same time. I'm not going to do a roll
Aye.
call.
aye.
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 Thank you, everybody.
Nicole,
you.
See ya.
phone call at 11 tomorrow, by the